Chapter 1053. Boom! At this moment, the last purple thunderbolt struck. Xiaoping devoured this energy cleanly, and his dermic powers increased a little. The thunderbolt wandered around his body, making crackling sounds. His eyes revealed a trace of purple lightning. He felt unprecedentedly powerful. Not only did the tribulation not hurt him at all, but it also increased his power greatly. It strengthened his dermic powers and saved him a lot of time to condense his dermic powers. Every inch of his muscles was filled with explosive power, and his cells were highly activated. Even his lifespan seemed to have been extended. And, all of a sudden, Xiaoping sensed 3 malicious auras rapidly flying towards him. Within a few breaths, they were already close to him, glaring at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. He turned around and immediately saw 3 Purple Mansion Realm Demon Kings appearing in front of him. This human is still alive after suffering such a severe thunderbolt. It's indeed a little strange. To be precise, he will definitely die. It must be because of that peerless treasure on him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be alive. If that's the case, then the preciousness of that treasure is probably beyond imagination. The Water Crab King, Sea Spider King, and Squid King were astonished. They thought that they were here to find a corpse and easily pick up a treasure. They didn't expect that this human was still alive after suffering such a powerful thunderbolt. Instead, he appeared in front of them alive and well, which made them extremely shocked. But after thinking about it carefully, they realized that they had 3 Demon Kings with them. There was no way they would be afraid of this human monarch. Thinking of this, the 3 Monster Kings immediately calmed down and felt that they had nothing to fear. Human, what kind of treasure did you obtain in this place? Hand it over immediately, and I will spare your life. The Sea Spider King spoke to Xiaoping impolitely and demanded him to hand over the treasure. Treasure? Xiaoping raised his brows. He immediately understood why the 3 Demon Kings suddenly surrounded him and saw such a phenomenon. They might have mistakenly thought that he had obtained some kind of secret treasure, which was why they were acting like this. But these 3 Demon Kings were really bold to come and find trouble with him. Don't play dumb here. The Water Crab King shouted angrily. You caused such a huge commotion here. If you didn't find some astonishing treasure, how could such a thing have happened? You can't hide it. If you know what's good for you, hand it over immediately. Such a treasure isn't something a puny human like you can obtain. It was filled with murderous intent. Why are you still wasting time with this human? Kill him immediately and take it from his corpse. The Squid King was a ruthless person. It had no intention of being courteous to Xiaoping. Whoosh! It brazenly attacked from behind Xiaoping. It was like a terrifying hurricane that could tear apart a great mountain. The other 2 Demon Kings also revealed a trace of pride. The reason why they talked so much nonsense with Xiaoping was to attract Xiaoping's attention, allowing the Squid King to find a chance to launch a sneak attack and kill him in one strike. Even though it was 3 against 1 and they had the upper hand, it was better to eliminate this human king as soon as possible, just in case. Die! With a boom, the Squid King's fist was like a sharp sword. It burst out with a sharp sound in midair and constantly rotated, fiercely attacking Xiaoping's back. Its face was sinister, as though it could see Xiaoping's back being penetrated. What? However, when its fist landed on Xiaoping's back, it was instantly blocked by a tyrannical energy shield. It was as if the fist had landed on cotton, and the huge force was transferred to the sea below. A wave of energy swept out in all directions, setting off boundless huge waves that drowned dozens of islands nearby. You dare to attack me? You sure have guts. Xiaoping slowly turned around with a trace of cold light in his eyes. Even the power of the 18 lightning tribulations couldn't break through the dark North Body Protection Technique's defense. It was impossible for a mere Purple Mansion Realm Demon King to hurt him. He reckoned that if he stood in place and let this Squid King hit him for 3 days and 3 nights, he wouldn't be injured at all. Not good. The Squid King felt as though it had fallen into an ice cave. It immediately knew that it had provoked an incredible figure. It turned around and wanted to escape, but it was too late. Xiaoping made a move and arrived first. With a backhand slap, he slapped the Squid King's head fiercely. Bang! The tyrannical palm force burst out, and immediately the Squid King's head exploded like a watermelon. This palm force even spread down inch by inch, causing its entire body to explode. A large amount of blood splashed out, and it was about to stain Xiaoping's body, but it was blocked by the chi barrier on his body. All of it slid into the sea. Damn it, I encountered a tough one. This is troublesome. Run quickly. The Water Crab King and the Sea Spider King originally had a sinister expression and wanted to see Xiaoping die tragically, but they saw the Squid King being slapped to death with a backhand slap. They immediately knew that this human was terrifyingly powerful and wasn't someone they could provoke. As a monarch with many years of experience, their reaction speed was already ingrained in their bones. They turned around and fled into the distance, but they still fled in the east and west directions. As long as Xiaoping chased one of them, the other would be able to escape. Black Whirlpool, Ripple Fist. Xiaoping didn't even look and punched the Sea Spider King. Immediately, a large amount of magic power surged in midair, forming a huge black whirlpool. It was like a black hole, swallowing countless matter. This whirlpool was more than 10 times stronger than a Grandmaster's whirlpool. It seemed like everything within 100 miles was swallowed up by it. The Sea Spider King felt it the most. It felt like its body was being pulled by a nameless whirlpool, as if there were countless hands grabbing its body. Even though it had dozens of legs, they were useless at this moment. It couldn't escape at all. No, no, no. Spare me this time. I'm willing to be your slave and do anything for you. The Sea Spider King was so scared that it peed itself. Its back was drenched in sweat, and its body felt cold. It could feel the aura of death approaching. It didn't care about its dignity as a monster king anymore. It immediately begged Xiaoping for mercy, hoping that he would spare its dog life. No need. You should just die. Xiaoping clenched his hand, and the black whirlpool in the air immediately swallowed the Sea Spider King. Then the black hole closed as if a huge beast was chewing. With a dong, the Sea Spider King's body was crushed into a pile of meat paste. Walala! Immediately, the meat fell from the sky, all falling into the sea. Countless fish in the sea swooped out, continuously devouring it. This was the Monster King's meat, which contained great nourishment. Chapter 1054. No way it's dead? At this moment, the Water Crab King had also escaped several miles away. It also sensed the fate of the Sea Spider King. With just one punch, the famous Sea Spider King was killed. Even if it begged for mercy, it could not save its life. It died miserably. This human killed the Sea Spider King as easily as stepping on an ant. He was terrifyingly powerful. How did I provoke such a monster? The Water Crab King's intestines turned green with regret. If it knew this human was so terrifying, it would not have dared to find trouble even if it killed it. Now, 2 Sea Spider Kings were killed in one move. Even the Water Crab King was so scared that it fled quickly, not daring to stay. Humans die for wealth, while birds die for food. Greed killed. It understood this logic very well. Right, I know this human. He's Xiaoping of the human race. That's right, this brat is Xiaoping of the human race that has been the talk of the town recently. The Water Crab King's eyes flashed as it recalled Xiaoping's appearance. It immediately knew that this human was Xiaoping of the human race that had shocked the entire cloud world and killed the Swordfish King. Apart from this human, there was no one else. No wonder he's so terrifying. So he's the human race's monster, Xiaoping. The Water Crab King came to a sudden realization. It finally understood why this human king was so unfamiliar yet so terrifying. Logically speaking, it was impossible for it to not recognize such a terrifying king. Only a newly advanced human king would be this careless and unfamiliar. You must be joking. He's so powerful after just reaching the Purple Mansion realm. In a few more years, won't he really reach the Invincible King realm? At that time, who would be able to stop him? The Water Crab King felt a chill and could not help but clench its fists. No, this is extremely important information. I have to tell the invincible kings in the sea immediately and tell them to be careful. It is necessary to eliminate this scourge of the human race. Otherwise, who will be the master of the endless sea in the future will be uncertain. Thinking of this, it increased its speed and wanted to escape the danger. You can't escape. Looking at the water crab king several miles away, Xiaoping's golden crow hell eyes started to spin. Everything within dozens of kilometers was within his vision. Even an ant could be seen clearly. His mental energy could even cover 150 kilometers. Within this range, the water crab king could not even think of escaping. Head-piercing, 7 arrows art. In an instant, he grabbed out with his hand. His powers vibrated, and a dagger that looked like it was made out of solid substance was formed in midair. This dagger was completely transparent, and it was completely condensed from magic power. There seemed to be many mysterious inscriptions on it, as if it contained a trace of void power. Die. Xiaoping's mental power captured the water crab king, and, at the same time, he threw out the dagger. This power traveled from the soles of his feet to his knees, to his waist, spine, shoulders, and finally to his 5 fingers. This power was transmitted bit by bit, continuously increasing, and then suddenly exploding. Immediately, the dagger broke through the speed of sound by 30 times, as if it had escaped into the void. At the same time, the dagger was wrapped in magic power, as if it had melted into the air, silent and traceless. So powerful. After throwing out the dagger, Xiaoping knew that the water crab king was dead for sure. This was a vague feeling, as if the Grim Reaper knew when an ordinary human's lifespan would end. It was this feeling that made him realize just how terrifying the king-level nailhead 7 arrows art was. After reaching the king level, the biggest secret of the nailhead 7 arrows art was the method of using mental power. It could use mental power to leave a mental mark on the enemy's body. It could also be called a cursed mark. Once this cursed mark existed, no matter where the enemy escaped to, as long as they were within the range of the mental power, the Water Crab King would be able to clearly sense the enemy's existence. He used his magic power, and the energy dagger that was formed could also resonate with the cursed mark. Like magnets, they could attract each other. It could be said that even if they were dozens of kilometers away, it could still kill the enemy. It was impossible to miss. This was the terrifying part of the Nailhead 7 Arrows art. Once targeted, there was no doubt that it would die. It could be called a technique like the Grim Reaper. What? Originally, the Water Crab King thought that it had escaped 7 or 8 kilometers. No matter how powerful this human was, he could not catch up to it in a short amount of time. If this human continued to chase after it, it could take this opportunity to lure this human into the invincible Demon King's nest and let the invincible Demon King kill this arrogant human. But before it could wake up from this dream, its hair suddenly stood up. It felt as if the Grim Reaper had arrived in front of it. All the hair on its body stood up, and it had goosebumps. As a king, its sixth sense told it that if it didn't dodge, it would definitely die. But it didn't know where this feeling came from. What exactly happened? Out of instinct, the Water Crab King turned around and immediately widened its eyes to the limit. It immediately knew the source of danger. It saw a transparent dagger breaking through the air, and it was so fast that the naked eye couldn't see it. Even when this dagger attacked, it merged into the air without any sound or presence. If it wasn't a purple mansion realm cultivator with extremely sharp senses, it wouldn't be able to detect the existence of the opponent. PFFF. In the next second, its eyes went black, and the entire world sank into darkness. Then it didn't know what happened, because this dagger had already pierced through its head as easily as piercing through tofu. Instantly, a large amount of blood burst out from the depths of its skull like a fountain. The Water Crab King's eyes were wide open, and the depths of its pupils revealed shock, fear, and doubt. The strength in its arms and legs disappeared, and its soul left its body. It didn't seem to know what killed it, and it couldn't even see the enemy's figure. With a bang, its corpse fell into the sea, and in just a few breaths, it was submerged by the waves. No one knew that a demon king would be killed in the sky above the sea just like that. Countless fish heard the news and quickly devoured this demon king's corpse. What a terrifying head-piercing 7 arrows are. After throwing out this dagger, Xiaoping didn't pay any more attention to it because the water crab king was dead for sure. With its power, it couldn't possibly block this godlike attack. He was immersed in comprehending this hidden weapon technique. It seemed that this technique contained the mysteries of space, spirit, and other powers. It was unfathomable, and its profoundness was no less than sacred-level techniques like the Yang God Fist. Chapter 1055. At the moment, in a presidential suite of the Brilliance Hotel on Raven Spirit Island, Chu Rong was lying on the bed. She was wearing a pair of shorts, revealing her long, snow-white legs. If other men saw them, they would probably have the urge to commit a crime. When is that bastard coming back? She had a bitter expression. She had been annoyed for the past few days. Ever since the news of Xiaoping's ascension to the King Realm had spread, there had been an endless stream of people looking for him. Raven Spirit Island was located in a remote area. Not many people came here all year round. Now, countless flying ships descended from all over the Cloud Realm. They were all flying over from all over the Cloud Realm. Because she was always by Xiaoping's side, people around her had taken her as Xiaoping's woman. Those people couldn't find Xiaoping, but they had a way to find her. Therefore, they all came to visit her with a lot of gifts, hoping to meet her. Moreover, they were all big shots. They were either the patriarchs of the monarch families or monarchs. No one could be offended, let alone a smiling face. Therefore, Chu Rong had to receive them one by one. At the same time, she politely told them that Xiaoping was cultivating in seclusion and didn't know when he would return. However, they would inform Xiaoping of their visit. After hearing these words, those big shots that couldn't be offended were willing to leave. It wouldn't have been a big deal if that was all. What shocked her even more was that even her master and the monarchs of the Cold Moon Palace wanted to visit Xiaoping, hoping to form a good relationship with him. They hoped that Chu Rong could help them. One had to know that to her, the rulers of the Moon Cold Palace were all great figures that she could never hope to get close to. They were like the bright moon in the sky, but now they were all lowering themselves and paying her a visit. This was truly a great shock to her. Chu Rong didn't know that if it was just an ordinary monarch's ascension, there wouldn't be such a big commotion even though he would be congratulated by many monarchs. But Xiaoping was the youngest monarch in history, and he killed the Swordfish King, a veteran Purple Mansion realm monarch, as soon as he ascended. He was a seed to become an invincible monarch and a top figure in the Cloud Realm in the future. Facing such a monstrous genius who was bound to become an invincible monarch in the future, no monarch would dare to slight him. If they could form a deep friendship with Xiaoping now, the future would be amazing. Even an invincible king would not treat them lightly. After all, they would be experts of the same level in the future. Even if they did not befriend them, there was no need to offend them. Therefore, if they didn't curry favor with Xiaoping now, when Xiaoping became an invincible king, they probably wouldn't even be able to see his face. They all had many wishful thinking in their hearts. What should we do with these gifts? Chu Rong had a worried look on her face. Those major figures had naturally not come empty-handed. They had come to congratulate Xiaoping on becoming a king, so they had all brought precious gifts. Although one person didn't bring a lot of gifts, there were too many people. One by one, the gifts almost filled the 300-square-meter presidential suite. Moreover, the value of the gifts was also very astonishing. The total value of the gifts added up to tens of billions of federal coins. If a thief were to enter this room, he would definitely become rich overnight. However, she also knew that these gifts weren't that easy to get. As the saying goes, one's tongue is tied after receiving gifts. Who are you? All of a sudden, Chu Rong immediately felt a whooshing sound coming from outside the window. As a martial artist, she immediately jumped up from the bed and looked outside the window vigilantly. Immediately, she saw a familiar figure appear in front of her, and she immediately cried out with pleasant surprise, "Xiaoping." That's right. This person was Xiaoping, who had just killed the 3 sea race monster kings and rushed back from the place where he cultivated in seclusion. After he finished comprehending the 7 arrows technique, he had nothing to do. Therefore, he decided to return to Raven Spirit Island and meet up with Chu Rong. "You finished your seclusion?" When Chu Rong saw Xia Ping appear, she immediately thought of the matter of him going into seclusion. "Yes, I've finished. I accidentally broke through to the King realm," said Xia Ping modestly. Keep pretending. Keep pretending for me." He made it sound as if breaking through to the King realm was no different from buying vegetables on the street. Chu Rong extremely regretted saying these words. She knew that this bastard would look for an opportunity to show off at any time, but she didn't expect that she would be found by this bastard because of her carelessness. However, she was also shocked in her heart. In other words, Xia Ping wasn't at the King realm, but he had the strength to fight above his realm and kill the Swordfish King. If news of this were to spread, it would probably scare countless people to death. This was even more shocking than Xia Ping's advancement to the King realm, and it simply broke the common sense of the martial Dao in the Sky realm. "All right, cut the crap. Let's go back to Giant Island." Xia Ping waved his hand and wanted to pull Chu Rong away from Raven Spirit Island. He wanted to return to the villa on Giant Island and look at the warship he was remodeling. According to Corinne's information, because the remodeling was going very smoothly, it originally needed 3 months to complete, but now it was close to completion and could be completed at any time. He deeply realized how troublesome it was to not have a means of transportation. Just traveling wasted a huge amount of his time. But there are many people who want to meet you this time, and they've sent a large number of gifts. Chu Rong pointed at the gifts in the room and said that many great figures wanted to meet Xia Ping. Who cares about them? Let them go to Giant Island. Xia Ping didn't waste his breath with Chu Rong. He directly carried her and flew out of the window. He walked in midair and stepped on the air like it was land. He was simply like an immortal. In fact, if Xia Ping returned to Earth now, he would be a real immortal on Earth. Chu Rong's charming face instantly turned red. "Pervert, what are you trying to do? Even if you want to leave this place, you have to first book a ticket for a spaceship." She felt her heart beating wildly like a little deer, and she was extremely shy. If others saw her like this, would she still be able to get married in the future? "There's no need." Xia Ping smiled and said, "I've already contacted the giant company, and they have already sent someone to Raven Spirit Island. They have prepared a private spaceship specifically to send me back. There's no other way. Who asked me to be a great figure now? I have special privileges." He was proud of himself. Corrupt, black-hearted capitalists. Chu Rong spat. She really despised this kind of corrupt rich life. The next morning, the spaceship directly arrived at Giant Island's airport. Chapter 1056. As soon as Chu Rong and Xia Ping entered the villa, Jiang Yaru and the others received the news and immediately came out to greet them. "Little Rong," Jiang Yaru shouted in surprise when he saw Chu Rong. The two of them hadn't seen each other for a long time. This was a reunion after a long time. Although the two of them were competitors on Yanhuang Star and could be said to be incompatible like fire and water, after coming to the Cloud World, there were many geniuses and competitors everywhere. In addition, they had both joined the Cold Moon Palace, so their relationship was much better than before. Chu Rong was just about to speak, but at this time, a large group of beautiful maids ran out of the villa. "Master, you're back. It's been hard on you. I heard that you encountered a great danger this time, and even got targeted by a Monster King. Fortunately, Master is lucky and has a long life." "Bah, a mere Monster King is nothing. It was still killed by Master." "That's right, but we still have to check if there are any injuries. There won't be any problems in that area, right?" The many maids surrounded Chu Rong and Jiang Yaru and surrounded Xia Ping. They were like a lark, chirping with a worried look. Some of the maids were very bold and even wanted to reach out their little hands and touch that mysterious place. "Master," hearing this, Chu Rong gritted her teeth and looked at Xia Ping as if she was looking at a beast in human clothing. This morally corrupt and unscrupulous local tyrant. What did he do in his daily life? My God, he actually kept a group of such beautiful and outstanding maids in his villa, and he even made these beautiful maids call him master. Did he think this was still the feudal society of ancient times? This was simply unheard of and unseen. This bastard stayed with these maids all day long. Was he not afraid that there would be problems in that area, and he would directly have kidney deficiency. However, she soon widened her beautiful eyes because she discovered that among this group of beautiful maids, there was a girl with a rather outstanding temperament. Her beauty was simply overwhelming, like a crane in a flock of chickens. She had a kind of pure and beautiful aura. Even with so many beautiful women in this place, it couldn't cover her elegance. Chu Rong couldn't help but cry out, "Suji, why are you here? What kind of big class is this?" She was simply stunned. In Yinhuang University, it is estimated that there are not many people who do not know Suji. After all, when she entered the university, she caused a great sensation. Putting aside the fact that she was a famous singer in the Cloud Realm, she was also an extremely powerful genius in Yinhuang University. She was almost the #1 female. Just the fact that she came from the Su family, a royal family, made countless people envious. But what was going on now? Such a goddess, who was adored by countless people and was even a direct descendant of the Su family, was actually wearing a maid costume and working as a maid in this beast's house. This kind of thing was really too ridiculous. Had anyone ever seen a princess run to a minister's house to be a servant? Unless it was the princess of a kingdom. Unfortunately, the Su family was currently flourishing, and a proud son of heaven like Su Mei had appeared. Seeing another classmate from Yinhuang University, Su Ji's pretty face turned red. Feeling ashamed and indignant, she stammered. She didn't know what to say. Have you been coerced by this bastard? Have you been caught in some sort of blackmail to make you feel so wronged? Chu Rong suspected that Xia Ping might have caught Su Ji's blackmail, which made this peerless beauty have no choice but to submit. Otherwise, how could such an absurd thing happen? No, it's not like that. Su Ji's voice stuttered. She had a guilty look. She did not dare to say that she was forced by her parents to come and warm the bed of this bastard. One should not wash one's dirty linen in public. What do you mean it's not like that? Don't tell me you volunteered? Seeing Su Ji's guilty look, Chu Rong became more and more suspicious. She suspected that it was not Xia Ping who used force, but this shameless woman who wanted to use this as an excuse to get close to Xia Ping. She wanted to use her identity as a maid to get along with Xia Ping day and night. As a great beauty of Yinhuang University, she could be said to be a popular idol. Unexpectedly, she used this kind of shameless method. It was really despicable. She deeply felt the sinister nature of this world. She did not expect that there would be such intrigue among women. In order to compete for a man, they actually used all kinds of methods. They began to be shameless. What are you quarreling about so early in the morning? Could it be that shameless human has returned? Suddenly, a great beauty appeared at the entrance of the villa. She wore white pajamas, showing off her impressive figure. Her hair cascaded down like a waterfall. Her white and tender hand patted her cherry lips as she yawned. Even though it was early in the morning, she did not have much energy. She did not even have makeup on, but she still revealed a myriad of styles. Her beauty suppressed the crowd, and her whole body emitted a noble and enchanting aura. The one who spoke was the mermaid princess, Yuchichi. Another woman? Chu Rong was stunned. She quickly recognized the woman's true identity. Isn't this the mermaid princess, Yuchichi? You beast, you actually won't even let a fish go. She fiercely glared at Xia Ping. How is this a villa? This is clearly a back room. Not to mention, there are peerless beauties like Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi, and Su Ji. There's also a large group of beautiful maids. This is too much. With so many women here, even if there is one every day, will this bastard be able to fuck them all? She could not imagine what kind of despicable and shameless life this super pervert Xia Ping was living in this villa. Perhaps even the muddle-headed emperors of ancient times did not live like this. No wonder this bastard did not want to meet with so many big shots. He did not even want to stay a day longer on Crow Spirit Island. He was in a hurry to return to his villa on Giant Island. How is this a hurry to return home? He is clearly thinking about the group of shameless hoodlums in the villa. At this moment, Yuchichi also saw Chu Rong. She gritted her teeth and said, "Beast human, you brought back another shady woman. You are even more despicable than my father. Don't you know what is called enough?" She glared at Xia Ping. What do you mean? What do you mean by shady woman? Are you not satisfied with me coming here? Hearing this, Chu Rong was very unhappy. She had a belly full of anger. Originally, she wanted to turn around and leave. But after hearing these words, she did not want to leave. Seeing this fish's arrogant attitude, it seems like she is the mistress of this place. Hee hee, there's nothing to be dissatisfied about. It's just that I feel that as a woman, it's better to have a bottom line. Don't like all kinds of men. Yu Chi secretly mocked Xia Ping for not being a good man. But in Chu Rong's ears, these words had a completely different meaning. This mermaid was clearly mocking her for being a third party and interfering in their two-person world. I think so too. Some women have a home, but they don't go back. They always stay in a strange man's house. I don't know what they are after. Don't they know what is shame and what is reserved? Or is it that the customs of the sea race are different from us humans? Chu Rong chuckled and retorted. What? No matter how stupid Yu Chi was, she could still hear that Chu Rong was mocking her for not knowing shame. Immediately, her beautiful eyes burned with anger. When had the princess of the mermaid race been mocked like this? The two of them stared at each other. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, there seemed to be countless swords clashing. You guys talk slowly. Chapter 10:57. A warehouse in the villa. The warehouse, which was originally full of mechanical parts and materials, was now cleaned up. Thousands of nanoscale engineering robots returned to the engineering boxes to rest. The entire warehouse became very clean, leaving only a huge silver-white spaceship in this place. Is the modification finished? Xiaoping blinked and looked at the silver-white spaceship. Why do I feel that there is no change from before? Stupid. Corinne said, the appearance of this spaceship has not changed, but the interior has changed a lot. Because the main project to modify the spaceship is the spaceship engine, which is more than 100 times more powerful than the ones made by the humans of Yanwan planet. Of course, because of the lack of materials, engineering equipment, and so on, this is the best we can do for the time being. However, it is not a big problem to travel within the star field. It looked at Xia Ping with disdain. So powerful? In that case, can't we leave Cloud Realm and go to other human planets? Xia Ping asked. Corin nodded. This is also the next plan I wanted to tell you. Now that you have advanced to the Purple Mansion realm, you're also qualified to travel among the stars. To be honest, Cloud Realm is a remote and poor place. There are too few cultivation resources here. If you want to evolve quickly, you have to go to the universe. The reason why it helped to modify the spaceship was because it hoped that Xia Ping could leave Cloud Realm and enter the real universe so that he could quickly evolve to a higher realm. Otherwise, if he stayed in Cloud Realm for decades, he would only be able to advance to the divine realm. What about the weapon system? Did you modify this spaceship's weapon system? Xia Ping was still interested in the spaceship's weapon. If its power could be greatly improved, then he would have a terrible trump card. I knew you would ask this. In fact, the weapon system has not been modified for the time being. Corinne smiled slightly. After all, the technological weapons in Cloud Realm are still too weak. Even if it is modified, there is no way to improve the power by much, so I simply did not modify it. But you don't need to worry. In the base, there is a weapon called the Purple Thunder Cannon. It absorbs the power of thunder from heaven and earth, then stores it inside the cannon, and instantly explodes. This kind of power is extremely terrifying. Even a treasure refinement realm cultivator can be killed. In the universe, it is also a good weapon, enough to deal with many dangers in interstellar travel. It explained that when traveling in space from time to time, it would encounter oncoming meteorites and small planets. Sometimes, it was unavoidable and could only rely on the spaceship's weapons to smash these meteorites. Otherwise, when traveling at high speed and colliding with these meteorites, the entire spaceship would explode and the people would die. If Xiaoping was still at the Grandmaster realm, then he wouldn't have the qualifications to know such information. But now that he'd advanced into the King realm, his authority in the base had been greatly increased. Therefore, he was also qualified to obtain some secret treasures in the base. This was also the step-by-step guidance and help that the myriad star sect master had left for his disciple. By absorbing the power of thunder from heaven and earth, there's such a unique canon. How powerful! But how is the speed of absorption? Is it very slow? Of thunder, you're right on point. Corinne faintly smiled. Indeed, if this purple lightning cannon absorbs energy by itself, it would indeed be very slow. I reckon that it wouldn't be able to accumulate enough energy for one shell in a day. But there's a kind of energy crystal in the universe called thunder crystal. Through special technology, it can compress the thunder energy of heaven and earth, thus creating an energy block. If this thunder crystal is placed in the crystal, it can fire dozens of cannonballs. However, there are not many thunder crystals in the base. There are only about 100 of them. Once they are used up, there will be no more, so we must use them sparingly. It warned Xiaoping that this was a trump card left by the base for Xiaoping. Its purpose was to prevent any unexpected danger. Therefore, it should not be used casually, unless it was an emergency. What are we waiting for? Let's immediately return to the base and install this crystal on the spaceship. Xiaoping could not wait to install this crystal. Once he had this trump card, he would be able to kill a divine power realm cultivator in one shot. He would be able to walk sideways. A few minutes later, Xiaoping boarded the new moon god. He immediately discovered that the battleship's computer had changed. It was installed with the latest technological brain, and its operation speed was many times faster than before. Corinne could also live in the moon god and control the battleship at will. Moreover, there were many intelligent liquid robots inside the battleship. They were like human crew members, responsible for cleaning the battleship and repairing the battleship at the same time. If he wanted something, he only needed to say it to the air, and robots would immediately come to serve him. They would be obedient. It was like a 5-star hotel. Xiaoping was very satisfied. He immediately issued the order to set off. The battleship immediately left the warehouse and flew in the air. Boom! The battleship entered the void and performed a space jump. It disappeared from the giant island, just like that. A few seconds later, Xiaoping appeared in the sky above the base. That was too fast. Xiaoping was very emotional. Although this battleship had the ability to jump through space before, it could not be compared to this one. There was almost no vibration as it performed the space jump. Moreover, Corinne had installed a stealth system on this battleship. The anti-detection system was always on. Based on the current technology of the heavenly realm, it was impossible to track this battleship. Therefore, even if Moon God appeared in the sky above the base, the human soldiers guarding the base did not notice anything strange. Any detection system was useless. Let's go in. Corinne got in touch with the brain in the depths of the base and immediately opened a secret warehouse in the base. Then the Moon God ship quietly entered the base. Xiaoping walked down from Moon God. This was the first time he entered the mysterious ruins like this. Soon, he found a silver-white spaceship parked on the ground in the depths of the base. His pupils shrank. Although the size of his spaceship was not very big, about the same as Moon God, he instinctively felt that this spaceship was emitting an incredible aura. This spaceship was engraved with mysterious ancient inscriptions. It was like an extremely powerful artifact. It was completely different from any spaceship he had seen before. This spaceship is called Stellaris. It is the Old Master's Ride, a Saint-class spaceship. Chapter 1058. Stellaris? Xiaoping looked at the spaceship and asked curiously, "This is a Sage-grade spaceship? Why is it so small?" Small? Corinne suddenly smiled. This is a Sage-grade spaceship, not an ordinary spaceship. Although it looks small on the outside, it actually contains a huge space inside. There are 108 unique spaces inside, and each space is enough to accommodate millions of people. It can be called a mobile supercastle. What? Xiaoping's eyes widened. According to Corinne's introduction, this spaceship uses the space technology of mustard seed, which is almost the highest crystallization of human technology in the universe. In order to build this spaceship, Myriad Star Sect Master spent half of his wealth. With this spaceship, he moved unhindered in the universe and fought with countless enemies. It seems to be damaged. Xiaoping carefully sized up the spaceship. On the metal shell of the spaceship, there were huge fist marks, dented and almost pierced through the spaceship. There were a total of 13 such fist prints. There seemed to be a trace of blood on them. Xiaoping used his mental power to perceive it and immediately felt a violent will attack like a storm, destroying everything. In an instant, he felt as if he had fallen into endless darkness. There was a peerless, vicious beast roaring crazily and baring its fangs, wanting to tear his soul to pieces. At this moment, his whole body seemed to be unable to withstand this vast pressure, and his spine was about to collapse. What kind of expert left this? Xiaoping was startled and retreated again and again, immediately isolating himself from the mental power impact. But even so, he was still hit by this violent will, and a trace of blood could not help but flow out of the corner of his mouth. He was slightly injured. This was just a momentary contact, nothing else, but he was actually injured. He couldn't imagine what kind of creature left it. Don't touch it at will. Seeing this, Corinne immediately warned. These bloodstains were left by the sage, and they contain the will of the sage. Even if millions of years have passed, they will not dissipate. Fortunately, you only touched it for a moment. If you had sensed it for a long time, your whole head would have collapsed. Corinne's face was very serious as he warned Xiaoping not to move. Are these fist marks also left by the sage? Xiaoping asked. Corinne nodded. Yes, this is a holy grade spaceship. Ordinary cultivators, no. Even the Star Destroyer cannons of space battleships can forget about leaving any trace on the spaceship. However, that powerful sage was simply too terrifying. He punched out 13 times in a row, almost piercing through the entire spaceship and instantly killing 99% of the living beings in the spaceship. I also risked my life to escape, but the spaceship also left an indelible mark. Recalling what happened back then, it still had lingering fears. Even though it was an artificial intelligence life, and its emotions were weaker than normal humans, it could not help but feel fear from the bottom of its heart. He was like a god that couldn't be defeated. Although Xiaoping was not very sure how strong a sage was, he could tell that it was extremely tough just by looking at the material of the spaceship. Ordinary forces would not be able to penetrate it. However, it had been easily pierced through by that saint. One could well imagine how terrifying that saint was. Can 1 billion universe credits really repair this spaceship? Xiaoping expressed his doubts. According to the cost of this spaceship, 1 billion universe credits probably wouldn't even be enough to buy a single piece of material for the spaceship. Of course, it's impossible to completely repair the spaceship, Corinne said. But this spaceship is not completely damaged. The most important thing is that the spaceship's engine is not destroyed. Only some key parts are damaged, and a certain degree of materials is needed to repair it. Once it is repaired successfully, it will be able to sail in the universe. Of course, the amount of money needed to restore it to its peak state is simply an astronomical figure. Without becoming a sage, even if you exhaust your entire life, it is still impossible to do so. It was also very clear how difficult it would be to completely repair this spaceship. It also didn't expect to repair it all at once. This was a project that would last for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. The problem is its outer shell is damaged to this extent, with 13 holes on it. Can it still sail in a universe like this? Xiaoping expressed his doubts about this point. Of course, there is no problem. Corinne slightly smiled. Although there are 13 holes, it is just a trivial matter for this sage-level spaceship. Relying on the defensive power of the spaceship itself, it can completely withstand the countless dangers of the universe. If one can drive this spaceship, then they can simply walk unhindered in the universe. Not even the power of a sage level can harm it. It is a super turtle shell. It was extremely proud. Hearing this, Xiaoping suddenly became very excited. Indeed, as Corinne said, relying on the defensive power of this spaceship, it could completely run amok in the universe like a crab. No one would dare to provoke it. Moreover, its speed was also frighteningly fast. It was simply not comparable to ordinary spaceships. Even if it was not as powerful as it was at its peak, even if it only had 1% of its performance left, it was enough to make people salivate. Forget it, for the time being. Let's not worry about this. Let's first install the purple thunder cannon on the moon god. Xiaoping was very looking forward to the day when he could drive this spaceship into the universe. However, this kind of thing was still relatively far away. For now, it was better to think about more realistic things. Once the purple thunder cannon was installed on the moon god, then he would be able to walk unhindered in the sky realm. No problem. I have already arranged for the robots to transport it over. I believe it will not take long to install it. Corinne had long been familiar with this kind of thing. Next, Xiaoping stayed in Base 88 and helped with the final modification of the moon god. After a few days, Xiaoping finally finished the modification of the moon god. He directly drove the spaceship back to the villa. At this moment, the relationship between Jiang Yaru, Yu Qiqi, Su Ji, and Chu Rong, the four women, after these few days of contact, seemed to have eased up a lot. At least, they did not oppose each other like before. Be careful. Suddenly, Corinne seemed to have sensed something. He instantly came out of the spaceship and looked up at the sky. His eyes became incomparably serious. It seems that a big trouble is coming. What? Subconsciously, Xiaoping looked at Corinne, not knowing what was happening. Corinne waved his hand, and immediately through the monitoring system, the scene was immediately projected. Immediately, a space battleship thousands of times larger than an aircraft carrier landed in the cloud realm. A huge dark cloud shrouded the battleship. Its speed was extremely fast, and the friction with the air produced a huge flame. The battleship descended like a meteorite. Chapter 1059. At the moment, in the Human Alliance headquarters on Flaming Huang Island, Gu Shilai, Sun Yongdao, Lu Wuming, and the other invincible kings gathered together. They all looked at the surveillance screen in front of them with serious expressions. A black battleship with countless cannons appeared in the sky above the cloud realm like a giant beast. The aliens are really here. Gu Shilai's expression was very serious. Although he knew that contact with aliens would happen sooner or later, he was still very nervous when it happened. He did not know if these aliens were friends or foes. If they were strong enemies, he did not know if humans could resist the invasion of these aliens with their current strength. Is this a spaceship that can travel through the universe? I wonder what kind of technology is used. If we can capture one for research, it will be of great benefit to humans. Sun Yongdao's eyes flashed. Wishful thinking. Lu Wuming shook his head. The power of this spaceship is probably beyond imagination. It can travel between the stars, so the power of the weapons inside can be imagined. If they want to invade us, I don't know if we can resist them. He felt very heavy, thinking that the power of this spaceship was extraordinary. With human technology, facing such an enemy would be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Immediately notify all human kings in the cloud realm. Let them all be on guard and gather on Flaming Huang Island to face this unprecedented enemy together, Gu Shilai immediately ordered. If they did not gather all human kings, they would not be able to fight against this mysterious enemy from another planet. Yes, some soldiers in the conference room immediately saluted. They also knew that the situation was very serious, so they immediately went out and spread the news to all parts of the cloud realm. Notify our allies as well. This time, we humans can't solve this problem alone, Gu Shilai said in a deep voice. Gu Shilai said in a low voice. He also gave the order to pass this news to the Wanyao Mountain and the Sea Race. To deal with this enemy from another planet, the three major races had to work together to have a glimmer of hope. In the sky above the cloud realm, a spaceship quietly stopped in the air. It was like a god looking down from the sky as if it was monitoring this mortal world. It was high and mighty, and it was insufferably arrogant. Ha! We finally arrived on this native land. Captain Yubo was in a good mood. I wonder what treasures this native land has. I'm really looking forward to it. His eyes showed a trace of greed and cruelty. Report, Captain. A soldier immediately stood up. Through our unmanned scouting machines, we've already thoroughly explored this native land. We've also cracked the language of this place and obtained a lot of information. There are a total of 3 major forces on this continent: the human clan, the demon clan, and the Oceanic clan. The human clan and the demon clan occupy half of the continent's land, while the Oceanic clan occupies the entire ocean. The strongest cultivator among these natives is only at the divine power realm, and they are known as the invincible monarchs. Those who advance to the Purple Mansion realm are known as the monarchs, and they have a high status. He told them all the information he had found. These Red Scarf bandits were already very familiar with this kind of intelligence gathering. Every time they encountered a native planet, they would gather intelligence like this. It had already become a habit. King, hearing this, Yubo instantly laughed. You're just cannon fodder at the Violet Palace realm, and you dare to call yourself a king? You're simply overestimating yourself. As expected of a native, how arrogant. A hint of mockery appeared on his face. Boss, you can't blame these natives. They've been staying in this small place for their entire lives and have never been to other places. They're the so-called frogs at the bottom of the well. Their horizons are only so big. Just at the Violet Palace realm, and you dare to call yourself a king? Any random soldier of ours is at the Violet Palace realm, and I reckon that one of them can beat up 10 of these natives. It seems like this invasion is going to be very easy. It's going to be a piece of cake to conquer this land. According to the intelligence, there are plenty of life forms here. If we capture all of them and sell them as slaves, we'll definitely be able to earn a lot of money. Especially the slaves of the Divine Power Realm. They're very popular. Many of the interstellar bandits laughed heartily. They all saw all the life forms in the Cloud Heaven realm as goods in their pockets, and had already thought of how to capture these humans and sell them. But I can't underestimate them. The laws of this land are a little strange. It can actually suppress my cultivation and directly drop to the Divine Power realm. The vice captain, Zheng Cheng, frowned. He realized that after entering this land, his power was rapidly suppressed. At most, he could only unleash the power of a peak-stage divine power realm. There was nothing more he could do. After getting used to the tyrannical power of the treasure refinement realm, he more or less felt uneasy to suddenly drop to the divine power realm. That was why he felt that he needed to be vigilant. It's just the suppression of heaven and earth. Isn't that good? It also means that the strongest natives on this continent are only at the divine power realm. Yubo, however, felt that this was the best news. Those natives haven't seen the world. How can they compare to us, the battle-hardened and murderous interstellar bandits? Moreover, our weapons are much stronger than those defenseless natives. If we really can't do it, we can just drive a cosmic warship over and destroy a city with a single shot. It'll be a piece of cake to wipe them all out. Zheng Cheng couldn't help but nod when he heard this. Thinking about it this way, the suppression of heaven and earth was indeed good news. It meant that this continent wouldn't have any enemies stronger than the divine power realm. That way, they wouldn't encounter enemies stronger than the divine power realm. Boss, what should we do next? A soldier immediately asked. Let's show these natives our strength first. Yubo sneered. Send 3 elite troops and split them into 3 groups. They'll head to the core cities of the 3 major races and execute the decapitation tactic. We'll kill all the natives' divine power realm cultivators. That way, they'll be leaderless. How can they resist us? His eyes flashed with a cold, murderous glint. Yes, boss. The soldier accepted the order and immediately went to relay it. The gigantic cosmic warship immediately began to operate. 30 small warships flew out from its belly, each carrying 100 people. 10 small warships meant 1,000 people. These bandits were at least Purple Mansion realm cultivators, hundreds of Fulfillment realm cultivators, and 20 to 30 Divine Power realm cultivators. Coupled with the technological weapons that surpassed the Cloud realm by who knew how many years, it was enough to suppress any major force. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 1060. Myriad Monster Mountain. At this moment, countless monster kings gathered in Myriad Monster Mountain. They had all received news from the humans that a foreign race was about to invade Heavenly Realm. They were all ready. A total of 13 invincible demon kings of the Transcendent Realm had appeared here. These 13 demon kings of the Transcendent Realm were the pinnacle of combat power in the Thousand Monster Mountain. In fact, the humans and the Oceanic clan were the same. They each had 13 invincible monster kings of the divine realm. The three races maintained a balanced state. The lord of the Wanyao Mountain was sitting on the throne. He was an earth bear. He looked old and senile. His entire body was covered with gray fur. His body was huge. Sitting on the throne, he looked like a small mountain. He was filled with pressure. With such an aura, even the giant tribe seemed very small in front of it. It was said that the blood of ancient monsters flowed in his body. He could absorb endless power from the earth. As long as he stood on the ground, he would never fail. There would be endless power gushing out of his body. He was called the king of the land. Even in the divine realm, he was a tyrannical existence that could fight one against three. Ancestor. At this time, the three-eyed giant king said that humans sent a message saying that a strong enemy has invaded heavenly realm. Is it true? Is he trying to trick us? He was doubtful of the news. Yes, these humans are very cunning. We can't trust a single punctuation. That's right. So what if there is an enemy invasion? Heavenly realm is so big. They might not cause trouble for Myriad Monster Mountain. I think this trouble might be caused by the humans themselves. They want to drag Myriad Monster Mountain down with them and clean up their mess. We can't fall for this. That's right. We have nothing to say to the humans anyway. Let's just pretend they're farting. Many monster kings expressed their opinions. They felt that there was no need to pay attention to the humans' warning. They had stayed in heavenly realm for so long and had seen all kinds of storms. They wouldn't be scared shitless by some human warnings. Some monster kings even suspected that this was a trap set by the humans. The goal was to dig a hole for them. Your suspicions are very reasonable. But this time, the humans' warning is right. The enemy is here, and it's coming for us. With a bang, the Earth Bear King stood up. It was incomparably lofty, and it was simply like a mountain. The muscles on its entire body swelled up, and its edges and corners were distinct like rocks. It opened its old eyes and emitted a golden light that seemed to pierce through the heavens. It raised its head and looked into the distance. Its spiritual power spread out in all directions. It had already sensed something. What? The surrounding monster kings all felt the dignified aura of the Lord of the Wanyao Mountain. Even during the war with the human race, they had never seen the old ancestor this dignified. This was simply as if he was facing a great enemy, instantly entering a battle-ready state. All of them turned to look outside. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, 10 small warships passed through the wormhole, just like that, traversing thousands of miles and silently arriving above the Thousand Demon Mountain. With a snap, these small battleships didn't seem to have any intention of talking nonsense with these demon monarchs. The black muzzles extended out, gathered energy, and instantly exploded. Damn it! Immediately activate the spell formation and block it. A monster king's complexion changed greatly, and he ordered the guards to immediately activate the Thousand Monster Mountain's defensive spell formation. Immediately, the towering mountains in the Thousand Demon Mountain trembled. The spiritual energy of the heavens and the earth gathered, instantly forming a huge energy cover that enveloped the entire area. This kind of energy cover was extremely strong. Even nuclear bombs couldn't break it. Not long ago, humans had also sent a large army to the Thousand Demon Mountain. Thousands of battleships resisted, tens of thousands of cannons fired at the same time, and even nuclear bombs bombed, but they were all blocked by the Thousand Demon Mountain's defensive spell formation. It was almost impregnable. Therefore, this place was also known as the city that would never fall. However, today, this legend was shattered. When the terrifying energy cannons bombarded down, the Thousand Demon Mountain's defensive spell formation was simply like tofu. It was easily penetrated and completely torn apart. Boom! After a few breaths, the entire Thousand Demon Mountain's defensive spell formation immediately collapsed. The foundation of the spell formation was shattered, and a huge tremor occurred. There were more than 10 mountains that collapsed, and thousands of cracks appeared on the ground, extending for tens of miles. This was like a super earthquake with a magnitude of 7 or 8. It could be said that the earth was shaking and the mountains were shaking. Impossible. Many monster kings couldn't accept this reality. They thought that it was impossible to break the spell formation. However, in front of these 10 small-sized cosmic battleships, it was simply too weak. The power of these energy cannons was really too terrifying. They were more than 100 times stronger than the energy cannons possessed by humans. Moreover, they had unparalleled penetrative power. The Thousand Demon Mountain's defensive spell formation was simply unable to withstand it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After the defensive spell formation was torn apart, soldiers immediately flew out from the 10 small-sized battleships. They were of different shapes. Some had black horns on their heads, some had pitch-black bodies like charcoal, some were completely red, and their skin was densely covered with red runes. There were also some whose heads were like pigs' heads. They seemed to be pig people. In short, these soldiers weren't all humans. There were also lives of other races. They were all living races from all over the universe. There were all kinds of ruffians and villains. In fact, the Red Scarf Thieves weren't human bandits. They were a group of villains that had gathered from all over the universe. They were a notorious criminal organization. They were now wearing battle armors and wielding large sabers, long swords, and other weapons. Impressively, they were all treasured weapons. Moreover, they were all standardized weapons that were mass-produced. Their power couldn't be underestimated. These soldiers were hovering in the air with cold eyes. When they looked down from the sky, they were like gods looking down at ants. They emitted an oppressive aura presence. Moreover, there were more than 1,000 of them. They were at least at the Purple Mansion realm. Too powerful. Seeing the appearance of these extraterrestrials, many of the monster kings of the Thousand Demon Mountain were trembling in their hearts. These were more than 1,000 monster kings. It was estimated that all the monster kings of the Thousand Demon Mountain added up wouldn't be more than this. If it was just this, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, these extraterrestrials were obviously much stronger than ordinary monster kings. Not only did they have battle armors with amazing defensive power, but they also had treasured weapons. This made their combat power much stronger than ordinary monster kings. If one had to compare, it would be equivalent to a fully armored soldier and an unarmed soldier. The difference was just too big. However, what made them even more frightened was that among these soldiers, there were also 20 to 30 invincible kings of the God realm. Their aura presence wasn't any weaker than the invincible kings of the Thousand Demon Mountain. However, the opponents had 30 while they only had 13. This was an overwhelming difference. Chapter 1061. At this time, a figure walked out from the group of bandits. He was 3 meters tall, had a pair of black horns on his head, and had red pupils. His body emitted the aura of the divine realm. It was the leader of this group of space bandits. Surrender, and you'll be spared. Resist, and you'll be executed. His tone was domineering and unquestionable. He exuded a thick, murderous aura that condensed into a solid form. As a space pirate, he did not understand the native dialect here, but he had a language translator on him that could instantly translate the universal language into the Cloud Realm's language and send it out. At the same time, the translator could also translate the Cloud Realm's language into the universal language. Therefore, he was not worried about the language barrier. "Who are you? Why have you come to my Thousand Monster Mountain?" the three-eyed giant king asked, wanting to ask what these aliens wanted. The other monster kings also wanted to know their intentions. If they were not hostile, they could talk. That would be best. "Shut up. Don't you understand what I'm saying?" The captain of the Black Cove tribe interrupted the three-eyed giant king's words and slapped his palm across the air. A huge palm print condensed in the void and blasted out at lightning speed, stirring up a terrifying hurricane. Don't! The three-eyed giant king was caught off guard and could not react at all. Even his third eye could not catch the opponent's speed and was hit. Its entire body flew out, a giant palm print on its chest. It could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood before smashing into a distant mountain. It was just one hit, but it was heavily injured. More than a dozen of its bones were broken, and its lungs were severely injured. What? The Monster Kings were shocked and angry. They had only asked a question, but the opponent had attacked so viciously. He did not care about them at all. He was too unscrupulous. But they were also shocked. Even a Mystic Realm Monster Kings were the same. That attack just now was extremely terrifying. It was not something they could fight against. After all, the three-eyed giant king was also very strong. A monster king at the peak of the fulfillment realm, even if not as strong as a Mystic Realm cultivator, would not have lost so badly. The only reason this had happened was that the enemy was too strong. I'll say it again. Surrender immediately, and you will not die. The leader of the Black Horn tribe revealed an arrogant expression. If I say another word of nonsense, all of you will die. Today I will wash this mountain in blood. Hearing this, many of the monster kings were so enraged that their lungs were about to explode. When had their 1,000-demon mountain ever been so miserable? Someone directly came to their door and said that they wanted to bathe the 1,000-demon mountain in blood. This was simply a slap to their faces. However, the strength of these aliens was simply too terrifying. The existence of 30 Divine Realm cultivators was enough to obliterate any resistance they had. If they really fought to the death, they would definitely die. Let's go. The Lord of the Myriad Demon Mountain, the Earth Bear King, spoke. It was very decisive, as it knew that continuing to resist wouldn't bring any benefits to the Myriad Demon Mountain, and it would only cause countless monster kings to die miserably. Since that was the case, it would be better to give up on the 1,000-monster mountain and directly escape, waiting for a chance to take revenge in the future. Although to them, this was simply an extraordinary shame and humiliation. For the sake of the 1,000-monster mountain's future, avoiding the sharp edge and quickly running away was the only way to survive. You natives, do you not understand human language? I've already said that you will not die if you surrender, but whoever dares to escape will be killed without mercy. The leader of the Black Horn tribe was filled with murderous intent, and terrifying mana surged out of his body, distorting the air and creating strange phenomena. This was the power of Divine Realm, a power that could control heaven and earth. The reason why they didn't control the battleship and kill all these monsters was that they hoped to capture them alive and use them as slaves, selling them in the universe in exchange for universal currency. If these monsters escaped, they would have nothing to eat. How could they let these mobile universal currency escape? All of you run. The Earth Bear King roared angrily and immediately rushed forward. The other 12 invincible monster kings of Divine Realm exchanged glances, and at the same time, joined forces to attack the group of aliens. Seeing this, many of the monster kings knew the determination of these invincible monster kings. They planned to cover their escape, so that the 1,000-monster mountain would have a trace of vitality left, so that they wouldn't be completely annihilated. Want to escape? Is it that easy? Chase after them and capture them all. If they dare to resist, kill them. The leader of the Black Horn tribe roared angrily. He didn't think that this group of natives would actually dare to resist. They were truly audacious, and he immediately gave the order to kill. With me here, don't even think about taking another step. The Earth Bear King made its move. The moment it made its move, the heavens and the earth shook. With its body as the center, the gravity within a radius of 10 kilometers instantly increased by 100 times. Instantly, these space pirates felt as if a huge mountain had descended on their bodies, affecting every corner of their bodies. All of them were like birds that had their wings cut off, and they fell from the sky. The air in the surroundings distorted, and the earth began to split apart. Several dozen astonishing cracks appeared, and enormous rocks were crushed into powder one after another. Crackling sounds rang through the air. This was the innate divine realm that the Earth Bear King possessed, gravity manipulation. It could be said that this was also the reason why the combat strength of the divine realm was unparalleled. Either they had awakened their innate divine realm, or they had condensed a martial path divine realm, causing their combat strength, such as their concepts, to increase by more than 10 times. Good fellow, it's actually a divine realm, divine realm, divine realm. The Blackhorn captain's eyes lit up. I didn't expect that there would be a divine realm expert like you in this native land. If I capture you and sell you in the universe, you'll definitely be very popular. There aren't many slaves with talents like you. Die." He held a black broadsword in his hand, and he slashed it at the Earth Bear King. It seemed as if he was going to split the space. At the same time, the other 30 Divine Realm space pirates attacked as well. Each of them cast their martial path Divine Realm, and the power of their Divine Realm crushed over like a torrent, almost shattering this space. Puffed. Even though the Earth Bear King's strength was formidable, it was still of no use when facing 30 Divine Ability Realm space bandits, and it was heavily injured by a single strike. The other 12 Divine Realm Demon Kings were also struck by lightning, and all of them were heavily injured. They were sent flying for several kilometers, and their entire bodies collapsed into the mountains. Dozens of mountains collapsed immediately, and the rocks shattered. The area within a radius of several tens of kilometers was destroyed in an instant. Run. The Earth Bear King stood up once again like a god of war. Its feet stood on the ground, and it absorbed the endless power of the earth. The injuries on its body healed rapidly. Its eyes were filled with battle intent. It wanted to fight for a chance of survival for the other demon kings. At the very least, it wanted to let those young demon race geniuses escape from the aliens' hands. Chapter 1062. This battle lasted for a full 2 hours. The master of the Myriad Monster Mountain, the Earth Bear King, and the other 12 Divine Realm Monster Kings blocked the aliens, preventing them from advancing. They bought time for the other Monster Kings and their descendants to escape. They immediately notified the young monsters of the Myriad Monster Mountain and told them to escape. "What's going on? Why are we running?" "Yeah, this is the Myriad Monster Mountain. Who can fight here? Could it be humans?" "Even humans can't break through the defense of the Myriad Monster Mountain. When did our Myriad Monster Mountain fall to such a state? We have to abandon our ancestral land and escape. This is ridiculous." Many young monsters were shocked when they heard the news. The Myriad Monster Mountain that they thought was the safest had become the most dangerous place. Countless demon monarchs requested them to flee immediately in order to survive. This was simply a huge joke. No young demon could accept such a ridiculous thing. The cloud world is going to change. A monster king clenched his fist. His face was very gloomy. He knew that from today onwards, the cloud world would usher in an unprecedented dark age. The alien strength was too terrifying. They were even scarier than humans. There was no way they could fight against them. The humans were right. Those aliens are villains, robbers, and cold-blooded bandits. We should have joined hands with the humans. Otherwise, how can we end up like this? Many monster kings were sad and angry. If they didn't have doubts in the beginning and chose to join hands with the humans, perhaps they wouldn't be in such a miserable state. However, things had already developed to this point. Even if they wanted to regret it, it was too late. No, those aliens are too powerful. Even humans might not be able to fight against them. Maybe in the future, we will all be captured by them and become slaves. A monster king was very desperate. He was not an idiot. He could clearly see the difference between the two sides. Moreover, this was only a small part of the alien strength, but they were already so powerful. If they used all their strength, the Myriad Monster Mountain would immediately turn into dust. Facing such strength, any resistance was futile. Therefore, he felt that there was no hope in the future. It would be an era darker than any era in the past. "Let's go. If we don't leave, we won't be able to leave anymore," an old demon king said in a solemn tone. Hearing these words, countless young demons fell silent. Since even the highly respected elders had said so, it meant that this was no trivial matter. It was definitely not a joke. They didn't even have time to bring their luggage. They only took some important treasures and quickly escaped. Even Tu Linglong and Qing Luan were forced to come out of seclusion and join the fleeing army. Afterwards, they quickly left the Myriad Monster Mountain through the escape route that the seniors had prepared. Originally, this escape route had been abandoned for tens of thousands of years, and they all thought that it would never be used. But now, they actually had to rely on this escape route to survive. It was simply ridiculous. Oh my God, how could this happen? Damn it. Living peacefully and peacefully in the Thousand Monster Mountain. Who exactly did we offend? Why did a disaster suddenly descend from the sky? I didn't offend anyone. I didn't do anything wrong. This is the reality of the weak being prey to the strong. Just because you are weak, you will be bullied by the strong. If you are not strong, who will respect you and protect you? One day, I will have my revenge. Before leaving, the Monster Kings were extremely sad and angry. They clenched their fists tightly, and the veins on their foreheads bulged. They looked at the aliens with eyes filled with anger and hatred. If the war with the humans was just a battle for territory, then the war with the aliens was a battle for survival. It was a hatred that could not be resolved. Obviously, this kind of escape also came with a heavy price. Among them, 5 Divine Realm Monster Kings were killed on the spot, for escaped with heavy injuries, and the other 4 were captured with heavy injuries, including the Earth Bear King that was on the verge of death. This was also because these interstellar pirates could not bear to kill the Earth Bear King. They hoped to capture it alive so that they could sell it for a high price in the universe. They could not bear to harm such a precious commodity. That was why it could barely survive. Otherwise, it would have been killed in a single move. Under this kind of desperate resistance, the group of bandits also lost 6 Divine Realm Captains, dozens of Fulfillment Realm Soldiers, and 100 Purple Mansion Realm Soldiers. Damn, they're actually so difficult to deal with. Many bandits had gloomy expressions. They did not expect that just dealing with a group of natives would cause them to suffer such heavy losses. Trying to escape? It's useless. Chase after them and capture them all. The Black Horn Captain sneered. His attitude was very indifferent. He did not care at all that the group of natives escaped. With the small battleship here, where could these natives run to? As long as they could not leave the Cloud Realm, they would be turtles in a jar for the rest of their lives. Sooner or later, they would be captured. Moreover, this game of cat and mouse seemed to be more interesting. If they could not even struggle, then this game would be too boring. Yes, many of the interstellar bandits acknowledged the order. Their faces revealed malevolent and mocking expressions. One by one, they chased after the fleeing Monster Kings, traversing through the void and following the aura of the escaping Monster Kings. In their eyes, these were all mobile universe coins. None of them were willing to give up on them. It was not only the Myriad Demon Mountain that had suffered a huge disaster. Even the Endless Sea was visited by these alien bandits. They directly came to the center of the Endless Sea's underwater city, the capital of the Mermaid Kingdom. The Mermaid King, Sea Dragon King, Whale King, and the other sea race's divine realm monarchs received the message from the human race. They immediately gathered together to discuss a strategy. However, before they could come up with a strategy, the group of alien bandits came for them. As soon as they arrived, they showed their strength and demanded that the group of Monster Kings immediately surrender and become captives. What else was there to say? This was a war between races. It was simply unavoidable. The conflict between the two sides could not be resolved. The Sea Race Monster Kings and the alien bandits fought at the bottom of the sea. The battle was earth-shattering, and mountains and rivers collapsed. At the bottom of the sea, mountains collapsed, volcanoes erupted, the deep sea cracked, and rivers flowed backward. More than a dozen underwater cities were smashed into ruins. More than 1 billion mere people died, and countless mere people lost their homes. It could be said to be the most serious loss in the history of the sea race. Even when countless sea race fought back then, it was probably at this level. 2 hours later, 5 of the Sea Dragon King, Whale King, and the other sea race's invincible kings died in battle. Another 5 Monster Kings were captured. The Mermaid King and the other 2 invincible kings escaped with serious injuries and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1063. What happened to the Thousand Monster Mountain and the merfolk couldn't be hidden from humans. After all, humans had also planted many people in these places so they could know the news immediately. Immediately, this news spread across the entire human network and was pushed to millions of households. Powerful enemies from the outer region descended. Thousand Demon Mountain was destroyed. The 1,000 Demon Mountain Master and the other 3 invincible Demon Kings were captured alive. The 5 invincible Demon Kings were killed. Only the 4 invincible Demon Kings escaped with heavy injuries. The rest of the Demon Kings were either injured or killed. The 1,000 Demon Mountain almost collapsed. The news headline was sensational. It was known by countless people. Impossible. The 1,000 Monster Mountain is so strong, and there are so many of them, and they also have a super formation. Even a nuclear bomb couldn't damage it, and now it was destroyed by the strong enemies from outside the city. Many people couldn't believe what they saw. Some of them had fought with the monster race several times. Although they were enemies, they had to admit that the monster race was strong, almost no weaker than the human race. But now, in such a short period of time, they were all destroyed. The entire Wanyao Mountain was falling apart. Some of the invincible Demon Kings were captured alive, some were killed in battle, and the rest were like stray dogs. They had to risk their lives to escape. If that was the case, could the invincible kings still be called invincible? This matter is true. Our satellite monitoring system has already seen the situation of the Wanyao Mountain. Hundreds of mountains have collapsed, and smoke is rising everywhere. Countless monsters are running away, and they're in a state of panic. Someone exposed the news and took out many pictures taken by the satellite. Impressively, the 1,000 Monster Mountain had turned into ruins, and a group of aliens was wreaking havoc in the 1,000 Monster Mountain. No one could stop them. Oh no, the merfolk are also in trouble, invaded by aliens. Another news also came out. The Mermaid King and the other 2 invincible kings escaped with heavy injuries. The Sea Dragon King and Whale King and the other 3 invincible kings died in battle, and the rest were captured and taken away. The entire endless sea is in flames, and more than 10 underwater cities have been destroyed. Billions of fishermen have died, and the losses are great. The merfolk are like a group of dragons without a leader. What? If what happened in the Wanyao Mountain was shocking, then what happened in the endless sea was frightening. Even the sea tribes weren't the opponents of those aliens. Moreover, it was in the deep sea. The sea tribes should have the upper hand, but they were still in such a miserable state with countless casualties. One could totally imagine how terrifying the threat of those aliens was. Many smart people immediately knew that the entire cloud realm was about to change. Extraterrestrial enemies had descended and were going to invade the entire world. Even the Demon Clan and the Sea Clan were finished. Could the Human Clan be spared? It's over, it's over. Where did those aliens come from? Why did you suddenly come to the cloud world? This is a disaster from the sky. Can we stop those aliens? If it doesn't work, I can only escape back to planet Yinhuang. That is the last resting place of humans. *T. There are billions of people in the cloud realm here. How many of them can escape? Stop dreaming. Countless humans were terrified. It had been a peaceful period, and there had been no wars for decades. However, war had suddenly broken out, and the enemy was unprecedentedly powerful. For a moment, they were at a loss as to what to do. It's over. Those alien battleships have already arrived at Flaming Huang Island and are planning to start a massacre. A piece of news immediately spread and swept through the cloud realm. Many humans were terrified. Flaming Huang Island was the headquarters of the Federation. It was the absolute center of the world, where countless sovereigns lived. Even the invincible sovereigns were there. If Flaming Huang Island was destroyed and many invincible sovereigns died in battle, the future of humanity would probably be dark. They would follow in the footsteps of the Sea Clan and the Demon Clan. However, there was nothing they could do. Such a war was not something mortals could participate in. This was a war between sovereigns. They could only watch from 1,000 miles away and wait for the result of the war. There's an alien invasion. Xiaoping's eyes flashed with a cold light. Naturally, he had also received the news. In fact, when the alien battleships arrived, he was the first to know about it. However, he did not expect that these aliens would be so cruel and unscrupulous. They did not even want to negotiate with them and directly used force to invade, causing rivers of blood to flow in the myriad Demon Mountain and the Sea Clan. In fact, at this time, Flaming Huang Island was surrounded by a group of aliens. However, because of Flaming Huang Island's powerful defense system, they could not break through in a short time. Something happened to Father. When Yuchichi heard the news, her face turned pale. The reason why she did not go back for a long time and stayed on Giant Island was actually because of the Mermaid King's secret orders. Previously, she thought that Father wanted her to come to the human world to train, but now it seemed that he did not want her to come here to seek refuge. Perhaps the Mermaid King already knew that this would happen and wanted to nip it in the bud. Jiang Yaru, Su Ji, and Chu Rong all had solemn expressions. They all knew that an alien invasion was unprecedented. Its severity was comparable to the beginning of the Great Cataclysm. If not handled carefully, it was possible that humanity would go extinct in the heavenly realm. It might even affect Flaming Huang Planet. Corinne, do you know the origin of that group of aliens? Xiaoping asked. According to the symbol of that space battleship, if this old man is not wrong, it should be the Red Scarf Pirates. Corinne thought for a moment and immediately came to a conclusion. Red Scarf Pirates? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. When he heard this name, he knew that these aliens were not good people. In the universe, the Red Scarf Pirates are a notorious bandit organization. Corinne said. It is said that they are extremely cruel, killing people like flies. They often sell slaves, rob interstellar cruise ships, and other criminal activities. They also like to colonize the indigenous planets to obtain huge profits. I don't know how many people want to exterminate this organization, but there is no way. He thought that it was impossible to make peace with the Red Scarf Pirates. This organization was famous in the universe, but it was synonymous with evil, cruel, inhumane, and so on. Negotiating with this organization was undoubtedly a little white rabbit begging a hungry wolf not to eat it. It was impossible. Xiaoping frowned. In other words, this Red Scarf Pirates is very powerful. May I ask if they're comparable to the Star Sect? He was very curious. Bullshit. Corinne was so angry that his beard blew. The Star Sect is a super organization guarded by a saint. How can a group of trifling criminal organization compare to the Star Sect? If the old master was still here, he could destroy this kind of bandit organization dozens of times over with a single order. He felt that comparing the Red Scarf Pirates, a bandit organization that burned, slaughtered, and plundered, with the Star Sect was simply an insult. But even if in the eyes of the Star Sect, the Red Scarf Pirates are nothing, but in your countryside, they are an irresistible behemoth. Corinne's tone changed. Fortunately, they have only sent a fleet, only a part of their strength. If we rely on the moon god's power, we may have a chance to resist them. Now that the moon god had been transformed by him, it was many times stronger than before. The battleship of a trifling bandit organization was completely incomparable to it. Is that so? Xiaoping touched his chin. Presumably, there must be a lot of good things on these interstellar bandits. If we kill all these bandits, I don't know what good things we can get. Chapter 1064. At this moment, in the conference room of the Flaming Huang Island headquarters, Sun Yangdao, Lu Wuming, and the other invincible kings gathered here. The entire island's defense system was activated. A huge energy shield instantly enveloped the surroundings, protecting them tightly. 10 small alien battleships appeared in the sky, their energy cannons firing wildly. However, they were all blocked by the energy shield. After all, this defense system was dug out by humans from the ruins of the base. It was a technology that surpassed the current technology by many years. It was comparable to the technology of the aliens. Because of this, they were able to hold off the aliens for a full 2 hours without being able to break into the Flaming Huang Island headquarters. Fortunately, we obtained this defense system. Otherwise, I'm afraid the moment these aliens arrive, Flaming Huang Island would have been breached. We would have followed in the footsteps of the myriad demon mountain and the oceanic race. Lu Wuming rejoiced. They had also received news that the headquarters of the myriad demon mountain and the oceanic race had been breached by a group of aliens. Many invincible kings had died, and some old opponents had even been captured and enslaved. They couldn't help but feel a trace of sympathy for the loss of their own kind. But we won't be able to hold them for long. We don't have enough energy. At most, we can hold them for a day. After that, our energy will be exhausted and the defense system will no longer be effective. Sun Yongdao pointed out their current predicament. Even with the defense system that could block the alien battleships, even the strongest system needed energy to support it. Without enough energy, the defense system was no different from being scrapped. Damn it, these aliens came too quickly. We were caught unprepared. We didn't have many methods ready. A human king was indignant. There's no other way. We can't guess how strong these aliens are. We can only make the best preparations. Gu Shilai shook his head. How is the evacuation of Flaming Huang Island going? He turned to look at a general beside him. Everything is ready. We can abandon this island at any time, the general said in a low voice. They were well aware of the difference between their strength and that of the aliens. The difference between the two sides was too great. If they fought head-on, they would die. Therefore, the only way was to escape and fight for a chance of survival. In fact, they had been working on the evacuation all this time. It was just that Flaming Huang Island had too much secret equipment. A month was not enough. Report. Suddenly, a soldier shouted, "An unknown signal has forcefully broken into our network. The other party is extremely powerful and is constantly breaking through our network defense." Oh no, the enemy has already broken through. As soon as he finished speaking, the equipment in the conference room was activated with a snap. A virtual projection immediately popped up, and a group of aliens appeared on the screen. The leader was an alien wearing black clothes. He was 3 meters tall, had 2 long goat horns on his head, and had a scar on his face. He was from the Goat Horn planet. Other than that, there were also many alien bandits standing behind him. All of them had ferocious expressions on their faces. Gu Shilai and the others immediately looked over with serious expressions. "Greetings, everyone. I am Bata, a Goat Horn Star pirate. I am also a captain of the Red Scarf Pirates. I am in charge of this battle." Bata's eyes were cold as he said, "Since the battle has dragged on for too long, the captain is very dissatisfied with us. He is even starting to doubt our strength. Therefore, I hope that you can surrender as soon as possible. This will be beneficial to all of us. Otherwise, if you anger the captain, you and I will not have a good ending." He put forward his proposal. "Shut up," a human king sneered. "You're simply daydreaming. You want us to surrender? Unless all of us die, there is no way we will surrender." Everyone present looked at Bata as if they were looking at an idiot. Their eyes were filled with deep determination. Since the Great Apocalypse, humans had encountered all kinds of difficulties. When the Great Apocalypse happened, more than 90% of humans died, but they still survived tenaciously and even fought back to become the overlord of the planet. Although they had encountered great danger now, it was nothing compared to the previous Great Apocalypse. Wanting them to surrender with just a few words was a joke. "Not bad. You do have backbone." Bata sneered. "But I wonder if other humans have the same backbone. See this? Our 3 battleships have already gone to the 3 nearby human islands. Although we can't break the defense of this island yet, I don't believe that every human island has such a strong defense. I believe that you know the power of our battleship's cannons. One shot, and the entire island will be wiped out." He waved his hand, and another virtual image appeared. 3 small battleships had already flown above the island, and their energy cannons were ready. What? Hearing this, many of the human kings were filled with boundless rage. Threat. This was clearly using the lives of other humans to threaten them. But it seems that you don't believe that we would dare to do this. Since that is the case, let me prove it. Make these 3 islands disappear. Bata casually waved his hand and gave the order. "Stop." Seeing this, Gu Shilai and the others shouted angrily. However, the 3 small battleships did not hesitate and immediately fired their cannons. A huge energy column bombarded the 3 islands. Instantly, a terrifying explosion occurred. It was equivalent to the explosion of hundreds of nuclear bombs. Rumble. In an instant, the 3 islands were razed to the ground by the power of the explosion. The buildings on them were all turned into dust. Almost all of them were flattened and vaporized. Nothing was left. "Damn it. You're courting death." Many of the human kings clenched their fists in anger. Each of the 3 human islands had at least 40 to 50 million people living on them. Now that the 3 islands had disappeared, it meant that at least 150 million people had died. Even if there was a fierce war with the demon clan, the number of casualties was no more than that. But those were the deaths of soldiers, not civilians. These alien bandits were directly slaughtering civilians. Their methods were so cruel that it made people's hair stand on end. If you don't surrender now, this is just the beginning. Bada was indifferent. A trace of cruelty flashed in his eyes. If you surrender 1 minute later, an island and a human city will be destroyed. Of course, if you insist on not surrendering, then we will destroy all human cities in the Cloud Realm. No one will be left alive. I am not joking. I mean what I say. Chapter 1065. The news of the aliens massacring the 3 islands could not be hidden from the satellite monitoring. The news spread quickly, and all the humans in the Cloud Realm knew about it. After hearing the news, everyone was furious. Damn aliens, these bastards. They deserve to die. Those humans are civilians and defenseless. What do they do to kill them? How inhumane. There are children, elderly, and women among them. What did they do to deserve such a disaster? We have to get rid of these alien bastards. Many human cultivators were incomparably furious. Their eyes were bloodshot, and there was a flame burning in their hearts. They simply wished they could immediately kill their way over and slaughter this group of extraterrestrial beasts, leaving not a single one alive. They wanted to avenge the innocent deaths of their compatriots. Damn it! Xiaoping also heard the news. His eyes were calm, but they contained a monstrous, murderous intent. Although he was not a saint who would sacrifice himself for others, he also knew what a bottom line was. There is no doubt that the actions of these alien bandits had crossed the bottom line. They were not worthy of being human. 150 million innocent lives had been brutally killed by them. He could not bear it. Corinne, I want to kill them. Xiaoping clenched his fists. His body was filled with condensed, murderous intent, and the spiritual power in the depths of his brain was surging. Don't worry, the moon god is ready. We can leave at any time. Corinne nodded, indicating that he was ready. Okay, let's go. Xiaoping did not hesitate. He immediately boarded the moon god and set off. He did not want to waste any time. Otherwise, he did not know how many innocent people would be killed by these alien bandits. On Flaming Huang Island, many of the human monarchs were enraged at the sight of the tragic deaths of so many ordinary humans, and they wanted nothing more than to charge out and fight these aliens to avenge the innocent civilians who had died. Gu Shilai and the other invincible kings clenched their fists and gritted their teeth. A trace of blood seeped from the corner of their mouths. A terrifying aura spread out and cracked the earth. Are you angry? Seeing this, Bada said disdainfully, even if you are angry, so what? An angry ant can't do anything to an elephant. In the end, you are just an ant. I can trample you to death. Soon, 1 minute has passed. If you don't make a decision quickly, we may go and slaughter another city. At that time, all of you will be the sinners of those humans who died. All of you are the culprits who caused their deaths. Could it be that you can just watch as this group of people die? He threatened these human kings. Bastard. Gu Shilai and the other human kings gritted their teeth in anger, but they also knew that this was a provocation from the space pirates. The goal was to force them to remove the defense system. But if they did, they would be dead for sure. No one on Flaming Huang Island would survive. If their deaths could wipe out these alien bandits, it wouldn't be a big deal. But what they were most afraid of was that they would die for nothing without being able to harm a single hair on the enemy. What was the point of doing this? Wasn't this playing right into the hands of the alien bandits? At this moment, an alien soldier stepped forward and reported to Bada. Reporting, Captain. We found a loophole in their defense system. We can break it at any time. Through the continuous analysis of their intelligent brain system, they finally found the flaws in the defense system of planet Yanhuan. Once found, this defense system was just a sieve that was not worth mentioning. Hee, have you found the flaws? Not bad. Very well done. In this way, you have nothing to rely on. Come back immediately and attack this island with all your might. Bata laughed and immediately ordered all the small battleships to attack the flaws in the defense system. The 3 small battleships quickly returned and joined the attack formation. Oh no! Gu Shilai and the others' expressions changed drastically. They all felt that something was wrong, but there was nothing they could do now. Dong! 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 10 small battleships attacked at the same time, turning their muzzles. A series of terrifying energy pillars bombarded down, fiercely smashing into the weakest part of the energy shield. Immediately, the entire defense system collapsed, shattering like glass with a crackling sound. Boom! The defense equipment set up around Flaming Huang Island was immediately shattered by the terrifying force. The entire system collapsed. Flaming Huang Island experienced a magnitude 7 or 8 earthquake. The ground cracked, and huge buildings collapsed, turning into ruins. Even the headquarters of the conference room felt the intense shaking. All the glass was shattered, and hundreds of shocking cracks appeared on the ground, stretching for dozens of kilometers. Almost the entire island was about to shatter. It's over. Many human monarchs' faces were ashen as they watched the energy shield shatter. The entire Flaming Huang Island seemed to have no defense system. How could they resist so many alien bandits? Swish, swish, swish. At this time, 10 small battleships instantly flew to the center of Flaming Huang Island. That was where Gu Shilai and the others were staying. It was also the headquarters of the federal government. Come out, natives. You can't escape no matter what. If you don't want to die, immediately surrender. You should feel honored. If it wasn't for the captain's order, you would have all been killed by me. Bata walked out of the battleship and stood in mid-air, looking down from above. It wasn't just Bata. Thousands of soldiers appeared from the battleship, one after another. Among them were 30 Transcendent Realm captains, 300 Fulfillment Realm elite soldiers, and more than 600 Purple Mansion Realm soldiers. More than 1,000 monarchs descended on Flaming Huang Island. They emitted a terrifying aura that almost enveloped the entire island. No one could escape. Not to mention, there were still 10 small battleships eyeing them covetously. Gu Shilai and the others also walked out of the conference room with solemn expressions. They were facing these aliens directly. At this time, it was no longer their turn to escape. It could be said that this battle was unavoidable. But their hearts were heavy because the odds of victory weren't high. They couldn't be blamed for their lack of confidence. This group of aliens was just too strong. Putting aside the fact that there were thousands of monarchs, just the 30 Transcendent Realm cultivators were enough to completely crush them. Previously, the myriad Demon Mountain and the Marine race were slaughtered like a river of blood. They were utterly defeated. They weren't much stronger than the myriad Demon Mountain and the Marine race. Obviously, they weren't a match for this group of alien army. Make your choice. Bata's eyes were cold as he clenched his fist. Do you want to surrender and avoid physical pain? Or do you want to resist and suffer a fate worse than death? Chapter 1066. If I don't go to hell, who will? Gu Shilai stood with his hands behind his back, his expression indifferent. I will stop these aliens here. You guys take this chance to escape. You can take revenge when you have the chance in the future. Leader. The human kings clenched their fists, unwilling to give up. They knew that if Gu Shilai stayed here, they would die for sure. They were prepared to pay with their lives. After all, the other side was too strong. Even if Gu Shilai was a God Realm invincible king, he wouldn't be a match for these aliens. Enough with the nonsense. Gu Shilai waved his hand. I've lived for 1,000 years. What haven't I seen? I've lived for a long time. Even if I die now, I have no regrets. But these extraterrestrial beasts want me to submit? That's simply wishful thinking. I've done all kinds of dirty things, but I've never knelt to animals. He sneered. Old friend, I didn't think we'd have the chance to fight shoulder to shoulder. It's been a long time since we've fought. Sun Yongdao smiled and stood out. You're all old things. What are you sighing for? Your bones are probably rusty. How long has it been since you last fought? Lu Wuming snorted in disdain. At least I'm stronger than you. Let's see how many aliens I can kill later. How about we compete? Sun Yongdao smiled. Interesting. Let's compete then. I've never been afraid of anyone. Lu Wuming's eyes were filled with battle intent. The three great unmatched kings stood out. Their bodies were straight like spears, piercing through the heavens, as if they were backbones supporting an enormous mountain. Stubborn son of a bitch. Hearing this, Bada was very annoyed. In his eyes, these people were just country bumpkins. They couldn't even be considered humans. They were ants that he could kill easily. However, these ants didn't surrender when facing his pressure. They even dared to compete and say that they could kill a few of his soldiers. Too arrogant. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me. Although healthy slaves are valuable, it doesn't matter if they're crippled. Anyway, the medical technology on this ship is very advanced. Even if you lose your limbs, you'll recover. Bada was filled with killing intent. Whoosh! Right at this moment, a figure flickered and descended from the sky, arriving in front of the human kings in an instant. Who are you? Bada was startled because he hadn't sensed anyone appear around him. He immediately looked over and found that the person was a human. Xiaoping, what are you doing here? Didn't I tell you not to come to Flaming Huang Island? Didn't I tell you to find a chance to hide and think of something else in the future? Seeing this figure appear, Gu Shilai and the others were shocked. They did not expect Xiaoping to choose this time to appear on Flaming Huang Island. Immediately, they became extremely nervous. If this human genius died here, it would be an unimaginable loss for the human race. It would be more serious than the loss of a few cities. Don't worry, leader. I'm here to kill these aliens. Xiaoping shouted. Kill us? Is this native crazy? At first, Bada and the others were shocked. They thought that some big shot had appeared, but after taking a closer look, they realized that it was just a cannon fodder at the early stage of the Purple Mansion realm. Even their weakest soldier was stronger than this kid. If that was all, it would be fine. But this weak native didn't know what was good for him. He actually wanted to kill all of them. If he wasn't crazy, what else could he be? Suddenly, they started laughing very loudly. They looked at Xiaoping as if they were looking at an idiot. Gu Shilai and the others were speechless. If they didn't know Xiaoping well, they might also think that he was completely crazy. These alien bandits had a total of 30 transcendent realm experts, thousands of king-class soldiers, and 10 small battleships. This was a combat power that could destroy an entire race. Although the number was small, in fact, in advanced civilizations, quality was everything. It was like comparing the feudal era with a modern society. Even if there were hundreds of thousands or millions of cavalry in the feudal era, a nuclear bomb would turn them into ashes. There was no way to resist. In the interstellar era, once a sage appeared, it wouldn't be difficult to destroy an entire galaxy. What are you laughing at? Xiaoping was very unhappy. I will kill all of you later. Get over here and accept your death. His tone was very tyrannical. Be *starred. This little native is very arrogant. It has been a long time since I saw such a brainless native. He is obviously so weak, but he still dares to clamor in front of us. This is infuriating. Immediately kill this native and grind his bones into ashes. The group of interstellar bandits gritted their teeth. It was obvious that they were infuriated by Xiaoping's attitude. In their opinion, under the absolute suppression of martial strength, this group of natives should be in despair, crying, and begging. But not only did this group of natives not despair, they even wanted to fight back. Now, a little native had appeared and shamelessly said that he wanted to kill them. If they didn't kill this little native, how would they, the Red Scarf Bandits, have any face left? Captain, please let me fight. I can kill this native by myself. Immediately, an alien bandit at the peak stage of the Purple Mansion realm stood out and spoke in a low and muffled voice. His eyes revealed a cruel expression. He had the appearance of a ferocious bird. His entire body was black, and his feathers were like steel. He had a huge body size, sharp eagle claws, and his entire body was emitting a dreadful, baleful aura. This was from the Black Eagle Star, a race that came from the depths of the universe. They had a fierce and aggressive temperament, and it was because of this that they committed an irreparable mistake. In order to survive, they were ultimately reduced to being a bandit among the Red Scarf Bandits. All right, go kill him and take back the head of this native. Bada spoke indifferently. It would be a real joke if they needed captain-class experts to make a move against such a small fry. Boom! In an instant, this ferocious bird flapped its wings and flew over rapidly. It drew a black light in midair and broke through the speed of sound by more than 10 times. It immediately attacked and wanted to kill Xiaoping. So fast, many of the human monarchs were shocked. This ferocious bird was just the most ordinary alien soldier, but its speed was already at the Purple Mansion realm and was comparable to the Fulfillment realm. This one was already so terrifying. How powerful would the rest of the soldiers be? If the Divine Ability realm aliens were to make a move, would they be able to stop them? What a stupid bird. Xiaoping revealed a disdainful expression. In the eyes of an ordinary person, this ferocious bird might be extremely fast, but in the eyes of Xiaoping's golden crow eye, it was as slow as a snail. Chapter 1067. Dong. Just as the black ferocious bird was about to get close to Xiaoping, Xiaoping's hand slapped on its head without hesitation. Instantly, a tremendous force exploded like a mountain crushing down. Ah! The black ferocious bird let out a miserable shriek. It didn't expect this little human native to be so terrifying and actually be able to catch up to its extreme speed. With a bang, its entire body was slapped to the ground as though it was sent flying by a giant's palm. In an instant, a giant pit appeared on the ground, and cracks appeared in the surroundings. Its head was like a watermelon that was smashed into pieces by this unparalleled force. Its brain matter flew out like ketchup and splashed all over the ground. It was obvious that this black ferocious bird couldn't be any more dead. So powerful. Gu Shilai and the other human monarchs narrowed their eyes. They already knew that Xiaoping had once killed a Purple Mansion realm monarch like the Swordfish King with his bare hands, and knew that Xiaoping's strength was extraordinary. But since they didn't see it with their own eyes, they didn't know what Xiaoping's true strength was. But now, he killed this alien ferocious bird that was at the peak stage of the Purple Mansion realm without any resistance. From this point alone, it was enough to prove Xiaoping's strength. He was definitely at the peak stage of the Purple Mansion realm. Most importantly, Xiaoping was only at the early stage of the Purple Mansion realm. He was still quite a distance away from the peak stage of the Purple Mansion realm, but his combat strength was already so terrifying. It was a little beyond their imagination. Damn it! Gu Shilai and the others were shocked and gratified, but Bada and the other extraterrestrial bandits were infuriated. They felt as though they were slapped in the face. This ferocious bird might look like a small soldier, but he was still a member of the Red Scarf Bandits. Now that he was killed on the spot, it was like a slap to their faces. None of them could endure such humiliation. Who else? Who else is courting death? Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back. I will kill him in a minute and not let him see tomorrow's sun. Honestly, you guys can come at me. If you can't kill him in a minute, it will be my loss. He looked at Bada and the other extraterrestrial bandits with eyes filled with disdain and mockery. I can't take it anymore, Captain. This native is too arrogant. I want to kill him right now. Kill him. One of the Divine Tier captains was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot and his head was smoking. That ferocious bird just now was one of his soldiers. Now, it was actually killed by a tiny native. What face did he have left? If this matter were to spread out, he would probably become a laughingstock for an entire year. This kind of humiliation could only be washed clean with blood. Go, kill him. Bada was also very angry. Although using a Transcendent Realm captain to deal with a small native was more or less bullying, they were still Red Scarf Bandits. They were experts at bullying the weak and weak. If they were facing a powerhouse, they would have fled in fright. How would they dare to stay here? Oh no! Gu Shilai and the others' faces turned cold and their hearts sank. Now that the enemy's God Realm expert was going to act, this was not a super opponent that Xiaoping could fight against. Even if Xiaoping could dominate the Purple Mansion realm, the gap between the Purple Mansion realm and the Divine Ability realm was too huge. It was impossible for Xiaoping to contend with Xiaoping. Swish! In an instant, the Divine Ability realm Interstellar Bandit made his move. He flew over and almost instantaneously vanished in front of everyone. In the next second, he was not far from Xiaoping. He had a sinister expression and was holding a black longsword in his hand. It was also a treasure artifact that was emitting an intense sword aura. This sword aura had almost locked down all of Xiaoping's escape routes. It could be said that he used all his strength in this attack to instantly kill this native and not give this kid chance to escape. Stop! Gu Shilai and the other invincible monarchs were shocked. Even if they wanted to help, this extraterrestrial speed was so fast that they couldn't even react in time. By the time they wanted to make a move, the extraterrestrial had already arrived in front of Xiaoping and was about to reap his life. Fool! Xiaoping looked at the divine ability, realm, interstellar bandit indifferently and just looked at him without moving an inch. What? Looking at the native's calm expression and the way he looked at him as though he was looking at a dead man, the interstellar bandit captain's hair stood up. Every cell in his body was alerted. He was just killing a purple mansion realm cannon fodder. Why did he suddenly feel such immense danger? It was as though he would die if he dared to take a step closer. He couldn't understand. However, he was already riding a tiger, and it was impossible for him to stop. Just at this moment, a purple thunderbolt suddenly descended from the sky. It was as thick as a water bucket, and the speed was so fast that it surpassed the dynamic vision of a divine ability realm expert. Not good. The captain's expression changed drastically. He finally knew why he felt such immense danger. It turned out that this shameless native had already set up a trap for him. However, the speed of the thunderbolt was so fast that he couldn't even react in time. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the bucket-sized purple thunderbolt blasted on his head. Instantly, the captain let out a blood-curdling scream. The violent, destructive force instantly tore apart the magic power defense on his body and penetrated into every cell in his body, wreaking havoc in a frenzy. With a plop, he fell to the ground and turned into a piece of charcoal, emitting a large amount of thick white smoke. His eyes were wide open, revealing fear, incomprehension, fear, and bewilderment. He didn't seem to understand why he died like this, and in such a dubious manner. The ground was blasted into a giant pit with a diameter of tens of meters. Gravel flew everywhere, and the surrounding rocks were char-black. The negative ions in the air were also crackling and flashing with the radiance of lightning. Impossible! Bada and the other extraterrestrials were stunned. They originally wanted to watch a good show and see the captain take back the head of this damn native. He wanted to kill the chicken to scare the monkeys and intimidate this bunch of foolish natives. However, in the blink of an eye, one of their people was killed. This was a divine ability realm cultivator who had mastered a martial Dao divine ability. How could he die so easily? It wasn't just Bada and the other extraterrestrials who were shocked. Gu Shilai and the other human monarchs were also flabbergasted. They wanted to go forward to help, but in the next second, this divine ability realm monarch was dead. Chapter 1068. There's a spaceship. Immediately, some of the alien bandits looked in the direction of the lightning and saw a small spaceship parked in the sky. It was like a giant beast with its cannons extended, emitting a deadly aura. It was this spaceship's attack that caused the death of a transcendent realm cultivator. Destroy it. Bada roared, his eyes wide open. Seeing this spaceship, how could he not know that the death of his subordinates was caused by this spaceship? If it wasn't for the spaceship's cannons, this damned aboriginal would have died long ago. Although it wasn't clear how these damned aboriginals obtained this spaceship that could kill a transcendent realm cultivator, it wasn't important right now. What was important was that this spaceship must be destroyed. Otherwise, they didn't know how many people would die. Immediately, the bandits left on the small battleships took action. The cannons of the 10 small battleships moved very quickly and fired at the moon god. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hundreds of thick energy beams shot out in an instant, covering the sky and earth. They attacked in all directions, almost enveloping the entire moon god. Flaming Huang Island's defense system was penetrated by these laser cannons and collapsed. One could imagine the power of these battleships' cannons. Corinne, destroy them. Xiaoping also ordered. A bunch of little bandits. Corinne stayed in the moon god's AI and sneered as he looked at the cannons fired by the 10 small battleships. He didn't care about these energy cannons at all. Even in the universe, AI were divided into various grades. There was no doubt that Corinne was a top existence, even among the many AI. This kind of computing speed was not something an ordinary alien could imagine. In an instant, through the scanning device, he knew the trajectory, speed, and power of these energy cannons. All the parameters were clearly known. At the same time, through the huge and high-speed computing, Corinne found the best solution. He immediately activated the Moon God's attack system and launched a fierce counterattack. Immediately, the purple lightning cannons on the Moon God's ship exploded. Bolts of lightning containing powerful destructive energy blasted out like lightning spears. Bang! 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 When these energy cannons came into contact with the purple lightning, they were immediately destroyed like snow melting. It was as if they were pierced by the purple lightning and couldn't withstand it at all. Not good. The bandits on the battleship were scared half to death. They were shocked to see that after the lightning energy shot out by the strange spaceship destroyed their energy cannons, it still had a huge power and directly bombarded them. By the time they tried to activate the battleship to escape, it was already too late. Dong! A huge bolt of purple lightning blasted over. It was as if a thunder god had descended, holding a thunder god spear. In an instant, the 10 small warships were pierced from the inside out, turning them into skewers. The bandits inside the battleship could not withstand the energy shock and were instantly killed. The battleship's engine was also destroyed. Boom! In the next second, the 10 small warships fell from the sky like birds without wings, smashing into the sea in an instant, emitting a large amount of smoke and flames. Oh my god! Gushilai and the other human kings didn't know what to say. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. That mysterious spaceship had only launched one attack, but it had completely destroyed these 10 small battleships. This kind of power was terrifying. Where did Xiaoping get such a terrifying spaceship? How come they had never heard of such a thing? It should be known that the technology of these alien battleships was extremely advanced, many years ahead of Yanhuang planet. Even if all the human battleships were to band together, they wouldn't be a match for these alien battleships. Even the defense system of Yanhuang Island couldn't withstand the power of such artillery shells. From this, one could see how powerful the moon god was. No wonder this kid dared to come and even said that he wanted to slaughter these alien beasts. It seems that he isn't stupid and arrogant, but has some tricks up his sleeve. Gu Shilai and the other human kings were incomparably excited. If there was a way to destroy these alien battleships, then their chances of winning this war would greatly increase. In fact, if it was an ordinary person piloting this moon god, even if it was very powerful, it definitely wouldn't be able to create such an effect. The reason why it was able to create such an amazing result was completely because of Corinne. Originally, the accuracy of artillery shells was very low. Usually, a 10% hit rate was already considered a good weapon system. In fact, in a real war, a 10% hit rate of artillery shells was already very good. Most of them were wasted. However, with the existence of a high-level AI like Corinne, it was completely different. Its computing speed surpassed the speed of light. In the blink of an eye, it could gather a large amount of information and then formulate a perfect attack trajectory with almost 100% accuracy. In this way, the accuracy of artillery shells could be increased to more than 99%. It was like an ordinary person using a bow and arrow to kill the enemy, while a divine archer using a bow and arrow to kill the enemy. The destructive power caused was simply incomparable. Therefore, the power of the purple thunder cannon, coupled with Corinne's computing speed, was simply like adding wings to a tiger, raising the power of such a weapon to an unimaginable level for the Red Scarf Bandits. Damn native, I'll take your life. Batter roared, unable to restrain his anger, and his eyes were wide open. 10 small battleships. This was a total of 10 small battleships. In the universe, a small battleship would cost at least $1 million universe dollars. Now, they were all destroyed by this damn native. For them, it was simply unbearable. It was completely conceivable that if he returned to the Red Scarf Bandits now, he would definitely be held accountable by the captain. At that time, it would be hard to say what kind of punishment he would receive. Therefore, Xiaoping destroyed 10 small battleships, which meant that he wanted to take his life. Attack together, kill this native for me, dismember his body into 10,000 pieces, grind his bones, and scatter his ashes. Bada was so angry that smoke came out of his head. He ordered everyone to attack Xiaoping. It didn't matter to others, but this brat must die. He must die. Whoosh! Hearing this order, thousands of space bandits looked at each other. They all attacked from all directions, each of them breaking the speed of sound, terrifying to the extreme. Even an invincible king would undoubtedly die in the face of such an attack. It could be imagined that the resentment of Bada and others towards Xiaoping had reached the bone, to the extent that they wanted to peel off his skin and pull out his tendons. Corinne, slaughter them. Chapter 1069. Hearing Xiaoping's order, Corinne nodded with a cold glint in his eyes. A bunch of bandits want to harm the successor of the Myriad Stars sect? They must be tired of living. Scatter, thunder rain. His eyes flashed with blue light, and it seemed like trillions of information flowed through him in a few breaths. As soon as he finished speaking, the moon god ship trembled and fired again. Boom! In an instant, a huge pillar of purple lightning shot out from the moon god ship and descended from the sky. But the moment this huge purple lightning shot out, it actually split apart and scattered into thousands of purple lightning bolts that were as thick as fingers, falling like rain. What was even more frightening was that these purple lightning bolts were like intelligent tracking missiles, targeting all the extraterrestrial bandits in the area and locking onto their auras. Not good. These extraterrestrial bandits felt the mysterious ship firing again, and their hair stood on end. Their instincts as kings made them feel the impending danger of death. They wanted to kill their way to Xiaoping and tear this native into 1,000 pieces. But no matter how fast they were, how could they compare to the speed of the purple lightning cannons? In the blink of an eye, these lightning bolts fell from the sky, covering an area of effect. Bang, bang, bang. These purple lightning bolts descended and bombarded the bodies of these extraterrestrial bandits. Whether they were Purple Mansion Realm, Fulfillment Realm, or Transcendent Realm cultivators, they were no different to the purple lightning cannons that could destroy Treasure Refinement Realm cultivators. They were all ants that could be killed in one shot. One by one, the extraterrestrial bandits let out miserable cries. Even though they were wearing treasure-grade armor, it was of no use. They were still easily penetrated by the purple lightning bolts. Some had their heads penetrated and exploded like watermelons. Some had their hearts penetrated, and a huge bloody hole appeared in their chests. Some were in a miserable state, and their bodies were bombarded by the purple lightning bolts and torn into pieces. Oh my God! Gushilai and the other human kings stared blankly at this scene. When this wave of attacks ended, thousands of holes appeared on the ground, and everything within a radius of tens of kilometers was destroyed. It was like the surface of the moon. The entire Yin Huang Island was shaking, as though it was about to be blasted into pieces. More than a dozen huge cracks appeared, directly splitting half of the island apart. The extraterrestrial bandits, who had been extremely arrogant, who had slaughtered cities and islands at the slightest provocation, and who had threatened to annihilate the human cities, had also fallen to the ground one by one, turning into corpses. The ground was littered with broken corpses and broken bones. Blood flowed and formed a small lake. The air was filled with the strong smell of blood. It was nauseating. All dead. The hearts of the human kings trembled. They knew how terrifying these extraterrestrial bandits were. The Wanyao Mountain and the Oceanic race were also attacked to a similar degree, but they were all annihilated. Invincible kings were either killed, injured, or captured. Not a single one was spared. They were also aware that they might follow in the footsteps of the other two races. But now that Xiaoping had arrived, this group of extraterrestrial bandits had died miserably. Not a single one was spared. Xiaoping, there's still someone alive. He's right in front. At this moment, Corinne's voice was transmitted to Xiaoping's mind. Through the life detection system, it detected that there was still an extraterrestrial bandit who wasn't dead. He even purposely lied in a pool of blood and pretended to be dead. Perhaps he wanted to sneak attack and kill Xiaoping when he wasn't paying attention. Or perhaps he wanted to take advantage of Xiaoping's carelessness to escape quickly. But under Corinne's detection, the so-called act of pretending to be dead was simply a joke. Interesting. He actually didn't die after suffering such a serious blow. I can only say that he is indeed worthy of being the captain. His skin is indeed thick, and his flesh is thick. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He immediately discovered that this extraterrestrial bandit who wasn't dead was actually the Captain Bada. But even if he wasn't dead, Bada's current situation was not good. There were more than a dozen bloody holes on his body, and both his arms and legs were broken. Although his vital parts were not injured, there was no doubt that his strength had been reduced by 99%. He was probably even weaker than a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator. Hearing these words, Bada's body visibly trembled. He didn't expect Xiaoping to discover that he was pretending to be dead. He was extremely terrified. Still pretending here? Do you think you are very good at pretending? Seeing that Bada was still lying on the ground without moving, Xiaoping suddenly laughed. Weren't you very arrogant before? You said that you wanted to slaughter Yanhuang Island, kill all the humans on Yanhuang Island, and even wanted to sell us to the universe. Scream. Continue to scream for me to hear. Now let me see if you still have the guts. Or is it that you Red Scarf bandits are all good-for-nothings who only know how to bully the weak and fear the strong? He looked down from above. Native, don't go too far. Bada was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He could no longer pretend. He raised his head and stared at Xiaoping with bloodshot eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that his body couldn't move, he would have pounced on this damn native and bitten him to death. Too far? You didn't go too far when you slaughtered the humans on Yanhuang planet. Xiaoping looked down from above and stepped on his head. He sneered. Now is just some interest. Soon, all of you alien bandits will die. Bada was extremely aggrieved. His head was forcefully stepped on the ground. As the captain and a transcendent realm cultivator, when had he ever suffered such humiliation? Damn native, don't be too arrogant. You dare to destroy 10 of our small battleships. Our leader, the Red Scarf Bandits, will never let you go. Never. Bada roared, just you wait. The leader will definitely avenge us. When that time comes, not only you, but your loved ones will also be captured by the leader and sold to the universe. They will be slaves for all eternity, never to rise again. His face was flushed red. He was almost unable to move under Xiaoping's foot. Even if he wanted to turn around, he couldn't. Beep beep, at this moment, a unique sound came from the empty land. When Bada heard this sound, his face was instantly filled with joy. It was as if he had heard the sound of saving the city. What's that sound? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He realized that the sound came from Bada's body. With a wave of his hand, he immediately took out a communicator from Bada's body. Dong! The communicator was immediately opened. Immediately, a virtual projection appeared on the ground. Then, the figure of a young man appeared in front of everyone. Bada, what's going on? It's been so long, yet you only connected now. Are you trying to rebel? Do you think my orders are fake? The young man was obviously very angry. His face was gloomy. Chapter 1070. Yubo was very angry. He had called Bada for a long time before, but no one had picked up. It was like a slap to his face that Bada ignored his call. Because he was the son of the Red Scarf Elder, he was qualified to be the captain of this fleet. In fact, there were many transcendent realm cultivators in this fleet, and they were as strong as him. He also knew that many people in the fleet were secretly dissatisfied with him for becoming the captain at such a young age. They were very unconvinced, thinking that without his father, it would have been impossible for him to sit in such a position. But he did not expect that Bada would dare to not pick up his call. Yubo could not tolerate such a thing. If he allowed this to spread, there would be more and more people in the fleet who would not listen to him. At that time, would he still have the dignity of captain? Would anyone listen to him in the future? Just when Yubo was about to scold Bada, he suddenly saw a scene outside the screen. He saw that Bada was in a bad situation. He was being stepped on by a young native, and he could not move. The nearby area was also heavily damaged. There were corpses in the depths of the pit, and broken limbs were everywhere. These were not the bodies of the natives, but the soldiers of his fleet. Bada, what is going on? Yubo squinted his eyes. He instinctively felt that something was wrong. It was as if something unusual had happened. Behind him, Vice Captain Zheng Cheng's eyes flashed with a cold light. He was a veteran of many battles and had participated in many robbery missions. He knew that Bada and the others were in trouble. Leader, hearing this voice, Bada immediately cried out in joy. He was wild with joy, thinking that he had found his savior. Save me! Hurry and save me! This damn native still wants to kill me. He quickly asked Yubo for help. Shut up. Yubo's face was gloomy. Where are the 10 small warships? Where are your soldiers? Why are you the only one left? He could not understand. Normally, these natives should have been killed long ago. But now, Bada was beaten half to death and was being stepped on like a dead dog. The rest of the soldiers also fell into a pool of blood, turning into a pile of corpses. The situation was too strange. Killed. They were all killed by this aboriginal. The 10 small warships were destroyed as well. Leader, save me. This aboriginal wants to kill me as well. Bada screamed as he begged Yubo for help. Ha ha ha. Killed. 10 small warships were also destroyed. Hearing this news, not only was Captain Yubo shocked, but even the elite Red Scarf thieves around him were shocked. They never thought that such a thing would happen. One had to know that these were 10 small battleships and thousands of elite soldiers. Although they could only be regarded as cannon fodder in the universe, on this aboriginal continent, they were invincible. Previously, when they were annihilating the Wanyao Mountain and the Sea Race, the 10 small-sized battleships were extremely ferocious. They killed the group of aboriginals until they wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves. However, they didn't suffer many casualties. It could be said that they were overwhelmingly powerful. However, just what was going on right now? The small warships had all been destroyed, and even over 1,000 soldiers had been killed. Why did such a ridiculous thing happen? You are the leader of the Red Scarf Bandits? You look like a dog. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows and looked at the young man on the virtual projection. However, you actually dared to invade my cloud world. Have you already thought about how you will die? He was filled with murderous intent. Aboriginal, you both said coldly. Don't be so arrogant. The power of the Red Scarf Bandits is not something you aboriginal can imagine. Although I don't know what method you used to kill so many of my soldiers. But you must know that you are making a grave mistake. This is a crime that will result in the death of your entire family. Immediately release my subordinate Bada. Tie your hands and kneel in front of me to surrender. Otherwise, I will turn this aboriginal continent into a piece of scorched earth. Not even a blade of grass will grow, and corpses will be everywhere. He threatened Xia Ping fiercely. He wanted to kill all the humans on this continent. Oh. After listening to these words, Xia Ping replied with an "oh" and slapped Bada's head with a backhand. Suddenly, a force like the pressure of a mountain erupted. No, no, no. Bada screamed. His eyes were filled with panic, fear, unwillingness, and regret. He wanted to struggle and escape, but his body was firmly stepped on by Xia Ping. He could not move at all. He could only watch helplessly as Xia Ping made his move. With a boom, his entire body exploded. The terrifying force seeped into his internal organs and even transmitted to his brain, shaking his entire body into a ball of meat paste and splitting it into pieces. Bada dead. This alien bandit squad leader was killed by Xia Ping with a single slap. Aboriginal, you are courting death. Seeing this, Yubo roared. His face was flushed red. He was almost mad with anger. His voice was like thunder. The glass cups around him were instantly shattered into pieces. He had clearly asked this damned aboriginal not to kill his subordinates. If someone had to be killed, it should be him. However, this aboriginal actually dared to kill Bada in front of him and smash him into meat paste with a single slap. This wasn't just a slap in the face, it was a slap in front of him. His arrogance had reached a certain level. As the son of the Red Scarf Bandit Elder and the captain of the fleet, he had a high status. When had anyone dared to not give him face? It could be said that he was already used to being domineering. It was always him who disobeyed others. No one dared to disobey his orders. Now, this aboriginal actually didn't give him any face and killed his subordinates in front of him. If he could really endure this, then he would really be a coward. He would have no place in the Red Scarf Bandit organization. No one would listen to him. Aboriginal, just you wait. I will find you. No matter where you run to, even if you run to the ends of the earth, I will find you and tear you into pieces. Yubo looked up to the sky and swore to the heavens. He was filled with hatred. If Xiaoping appeared in front of him now, he would definitely rush up and tear this arrogant aboriginal into pieces. Oh, then I will wait. With a bang, Xiaoping stomped on the communicator, shattering it into pieces. Yubo's virtual projection also disappeared in front of everyone. Want to kill me? Little do you know that I also want to kill you. Very soon, I will annihilate all of you alien bandits. Xiaoping sneered and clenched his fists. Even if the Red Scarf Bandit didn't come looking for him, he would personally find them and kill them one by one. Chapter 1071. Inside the space battleship. Immediately, Yubo's roar could be heard, along with the sound of a cup shattering on the ground. Damned aborigine! Damned aborigine! How dare you be so arrogant and look down on me? I want his life. I want him dead. His whole family can die. He was enraged. Originally, he thought that this invasion would be a leisurely war. As long as he watched quietly from the sky, it would be like watching a movie. Then, he would be able to subdue this group of natives. However, who would have thought that such an arrogant native would appear, destroy 10 of his small battleships, slaughter thousands of his soldiers, and cause unimaginable losses to him? How could he have imagined that such an arrogant native would appear? Pass on my orders. Yubo roared. Immediately gather the rest of the soldiers and attack Flaming Huang Island. I want to do my best to kill this native and capture his family one by one. They will be executed by 1,000 cuts. His eyes were ferocious, bloodthirsty, and cruel. In order to make this arrogant native pay the price, he decided to temporarily stop other operations and do his best to let this native understand the power of the depths of the universe. Yes, many soldiers shouted. They immediately contacted the scattered soldiers of the Red Scarf Bandits who were chasing after the remnants of the Wanyao Mountain and the Oceanic tribe, asking them to return quickly. At this moment, in the 100,000 mountain range, 10 small battleships were flying in midair. Their exploration instruments were activated, covering a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers. They were chasing the remnants of the Demon Kings who had escaped from the Wanyao Mountain. Even if these Demon Kings escaped from the Wanyao Mountain, it would be of no use. These alien bandits were relentless in their pursuit. They wanted to eliminate these threatening Demon Kings. Immediately, many slow or careless Demon Kings were captured by the alien bandits. What? Something happened to Bada and the others. Not only did they fail to deal with this native, but they were all annihilated. Not a single one was spared. Moreover, that native even killed Bada with one palm in front of the captain. This news instantly spread to the Red Scarf Bandits on the 10 small battleships. They were all shocked by this sudden news. They could not believe what they had heard. Impossible. What ability did this group of natives have to destroy Bada and the others? That's right. The unmanned exploration instruments have already shown that this is just a primitive continent with backward technology. It doesn't have the power to resist us at all. The problem is that the leader couldn't have lied, which means that Bada is really dead and the 10 small warships were destroyed as well. That's why the leader was so angry and summoned us back. What exactly happened in the middle of this? I'm not sure, but I don't have time to care about these useless monsters. Dealing with the indigenous humans is the most important thing. Find out what Bada and the rest have experienced. Yes, let's go back immediately. We don't have time to waste here. Many of the Red Scarf Bandits immediately came to a consensus. The remaining Demon Kings were just 2 or 3 kittens. In the face of absolute power, they would not be able to do anything. Hence, they all retreated one by one, boarding their battleships and swiftly returning to their space battleships. In the depths of the endless sea, the Red Scarf Bandits who were searching for the Sea Tribe's Demon Kings also received the order. Without any hesitation, they immediately gave up on chasing the Sea Tribe's Demon Kings and quickly returned. The Demon Kings, who were originally on the verge of death from being chased by these alien bandits, immediately heaved a sigh of relief. They were also the first to know that the group of aliens had retreated. What exactly is going on? Did that group of alien beasts retreat? I'm not sure, but looking at their panicked looks, it seems that something big has happened. This is really great. If we continue to chase them, we would have died without a doubt. Many demon kings rejoiced. They were simply chased to the ends of the earth. No one would have thought that the 1,000-demon mountain, which once dominated the cloud world, would actually fall to such a state. No matter how rich their imagination was, they could not have imagined such a thing. All of them were extremely sullen. But what should we do in the future? A demon king sighed. Now that the 1,000-demon mountain was destroyed and occupied by the group of aliens, they could not return at all. They even became wanted criminals, being chased by the group of aliens and reduced to stray dogs. I don't know. Many demon kings were also very confused. An old demon king said in a low voice, "Don't think too much. The most important thing now is to save our lives and find a safe place to hide. Only then can we discuss our next step. Live first, then we can counterattack." Many demon kings nodded in agreement. The news has spread. Suddenly, a demon king's communicator rang. It seemed to have received the news. When it opened it, its eyes bulged. "I see. I finally know why the group of aliens left." "What?" Many demon kings looked at it, very curious. The news came from Flaming Huang Island. The demon king's expression was strange. Flaming Huang Island was originally breached by the group of alien bandits. 10 small warships arrived, and humanity was about to be destroyed by the alien bandits. Who would have thought that B*TCH Xia would suddenly kill his way out? I don't know what happened, but he got his hands on a terrifying ship that can easily kill transcendent realm cultivators. In the end, the 10 small warships were destroyed, and thousands of alien bandits died. The group of aliens was completely slaughtered. After they received the news, they probably felt that the situation was serious and wanted to avoid being attacked one by one, so they quickly escaped. It did not know how to describe its emotions when it heard the news. Not long ago, this human child who had once harmed the entire myriad demon mountain had now inadvertently saved their lives. The human that they could kill with a wave of his hand had now grown into a terrifying existence that could kill transcendent realm cultivators. Even if this was not his own strength but the help of external objects, it was undeniable that this human was terrifying. With this ship, he had the combat power to kill transcendent realm cultivators. F***CK, so it's that Xia Ping's doing. I don't know why, but I don't find it strange at all. F***CK, this bastard human is starting to harm the aliens. These aliens are unlucky to dare offend Xia Ping. They don't even know how to write the word death. F***CK, this human is very strange. No one who offends him has a good ending. Now, there's a good show to watch. Many demon kings were gloating, feeling very good. As an enemy, this human Xia Ping was their most hated enemy. They hated him to the bone. Chapter 1072. Wait, Ling Long, where are Qing Wan? Where are they? Suddenly, the rabbit demon king looked at the young monsters around him and realized that 2 Ling Long and Qing Wan had disappeared from the escaping army. He frowned and looked anxious because they were the hope of the future rise of the demon race. They were the seedlings of invincible kings. Their safety could not be compromised. They've been separated. When they were being chased by the aliens, they seemed to be targeted by them. They said that they wanted to capture the 2 high-class slaves, so they escaped in another direction. Damn aliens, I'll never forgive them. What should we do now? Will the Saintess and Qing Wan be caught by the aliens? Don't worry, this is the 100,000 mountains. The terrain is complicated. They're smart. They won't be caught so easily. Yeah, they're both divine beasts with strong luck. They won't die prematurely. Many demon kings were also very worried, but they could not even protect themselves now. It was difficult for them to take care of the other young monsters. They could only depend on the 2 of them. The rabbit demon king sighed. There was nothing he could do. Facing the catastrophe of the 1,000-demon mountain in the past tens of thousands of years, no demon king could help. He could only hope that the 2 of them had enough luck and would not encounter any special trouble. At this moment, in an abyss, In the process of being chased by the aliens, Tu Linglong and Qing Wan accidentally fell from a mountain and directly fell into a bottomless abyss. Fortunately, they had extraordinary skills and consumed the 5-element spirit fruit. Their strength increased by leaps and bounds. They kept stepping on the cliff to slow down the speed of their fall, so they did not suffer too much damage. Otherwise, they would definitely die if they fell. I'm sorry, Sister Qingwan. It's all my fault that I fell into this godforsaken place. Tu Linglong had an apologetic look on her face. If she hadn't been scared out of her wits and wandered around like a headless fly, she wouldn't have been chased by the aliens and ended up falling into this abyss. It's okay. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have gotten rid of the aliens. Qing Wan comforted them, saying that if they had not fallen into the abyss, they might not have gotten rid of the aliens. Sister, Tu Linglong immediately hugged the blue Luan, and her heart was filled with warmth. But the problem is, how do we get out of this place? The green phoenix frowned, because this abyss was very strange. Black fog pervaded everywhere, and it was impossible to see beyond 3 meters. There seemed to be a terrifying power hidden in the mist. She instinctively felt that this mysterious abyss was not a trivial place. It might be a dangerous place. Boom! At this moment, the black mist that had originally covered the surroundings seemed to have received some sort of order and retreated, revealing a wide path that extended to who knew where. What happened? Tu Linglong was startled. She blinked her eyes and stared at the path that had suddenly appeared in front of her. I'm not sure, but this place is very strange. There might be a powerful creature living here, and the other party should be inviting us over. The green one's beautiful eyes flickered. She guessed that this mysterious place had an owner. Could he be an enemy? Tu Linglong asked worriedly. Qing Wan said in a deep voice, "It's useless to worry now. The other party is very strong. If they really want to harm us, we won't be able to hide. However, since the other party has opened a path, at least they don't want to kill us. We can only go and take a look." Tu Linglong nodded. The two walked along this path for a full 10 kilometers and finally reached the end. A huge black palace appeared in front of them. It was incomparably majestic and emitted a terrifying aura. There were mysterious and ancient inscriptions carved on it, and it seemed to form an independent space. They felt that even the Wanyao Mountain did not have such a terrifying aura as this black palace. It was as if this place had existed since ancient times, and it was unfathomable. At this moment, a figure slowly walked out of the palace. It held a dark green walking stick in its hand, and there were 2 goat horns on its head. It had a white beard on its face, and it seemed to be a goat demon. However, it looked old and weak, as if it would fall at any time with a gust of wind. From its body, one could see the traces left by the passage of countless years. However, the green phoenix did not think so. Her bloodline gave her a strong warning. This old demon had a terrifying power, and even the lord of the Wanyao Mountain was far inferior to it. It's been 30,000 years. After such a long time, another little demon has come to the demon temple. I haven't received a guest for a long time. The old goat demon opened his turbid eyes and immediately emitted a faint blue light. He immediately scanned Tu Linglong and the green phoenix. One is from the bird race. You actually have the bloodline of the divine beast green phoenix. Are you showing signs of atavism? Although the bloodline is thin, it is pure and has endless potential. No wonder I felt that an important guest has come. The other is from the rabbit race. Not bad, not bad. It's actually a rare space-time rabbit with space-time attributes. Incredible. I don't know how many years it's been, but I've never seen a junior with such potential. Very good. You two are very good. Entering the demon temple won't be a problem. The old goat demon looked at Tu Linglong and the green phoenix with admiration. His expression was also much more relaxed than before. The demon temple? The green phoenix was shocked. She had heard of this name in the ancient records of the demon race. It was said that it was a supreme place for cultivating demon saints, but it was extremely mysterious. It was said that its location was always changing and no one knew exactly where it was. In the past, many demon kings of the Wanyao Mountain had gone there to search for it, but they had found nothing. As time passed, they thought that it was just a legend. Unexpectedly, she and Tu Linglong accidentally came to the Demon Saint Temple. "Grandpa, can you tell us how to leave this place?" Tu Linglong asked politely. "We can't find the way out. We are already lost." She wanted to leave this deep and strange place. Leaving? That's impossible. If you are fated to come to the Demon Temple, you only have two choices. One is to die, and the other is to pass the trial. Otherwise, you will never be able to leave. The old goat demon smiled amiably. "No, I don't want to stay here. I want to leave." Although the old goat demon thought that he was amiable, Tu Linglong felt that he was very scary. If they didn't pass the trial, they would die. What a terrifying place. She wanted to run away. "Leave? That's not up to you, little girl." The old goat demon laughed and grabbed the void with his withered hand. The space trembled. Tu Linglong and the Green Phoenix immediately felt that they were caught by an unparalleled power. They couldn't resist at all. It was like an eagle catching a chick. Chapter 1073. Boom! At this moment, a huge space battleship appeared in the sky above Flaming Huang Island. This was the Red Scarf Bandits battleship. They had gathered all their forces, and the alien bandits that were scattered all over the place had also returned to the battleship. Following which, they rushed to Flaming Huang Island without stopping. Yubo sat on the captain's seat and looked down at the island. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "Is that damned human native on this island?" "That's right." One of the soldiers immediately said, "This is the place where Captain Bata and the others met with an accident. They were all killed on this island. However, we don't know if the native was scared and ran away, or if he stayed here to fight against us. Leader, do we need to observe first to understand the details?" He put forward his proposal. "No need." Yubo waved his hand. "Open fire immediately. Blast this native island to the ground and kill the chicken to scare the monkey." His eyes revealed a trace of savagery and killing intent. He hated the native who killed so many of his subordinates to the bone. He didn't even want to see him and just wanted to open fire and blast him to death. But isn't this a little too hasty? A soldier hesitated and felt that it wouldn't be too late to understand the situation first. "Hasty my ass." Yubo sneered. "It's just a group of natives. What are their lives worth? It wouldn't be a pity to kill them all. That brat dared to kill our Red Scarf Bandits brothers. That means he is going against us. Anyone who goes against us must die. So what if that brat isn't on this island? Since he chose to protect the natives of this island, it proves that the natives of this island have a great relationship with him. Therefore, all of these natives must die. I want to massacre this island and let the natives understand that we, the Red Scarf Bandits, cannot be offended. Once they do, they will be killed no matter how far they are." He was very overbearing. It was obvious that he wanted to massacre the entire island and tell those stupid humans who was the big shot that they couldn't afford to offend. Once they offended him, the consequences would be dire and they would definitely die. Leader is right. They're just a group of natives. How dare they kill our people? They are simply courting death. How is it enough to massacre an island? After we massacre this island, we will continue to kill all the humans in this ocean as a warning. This is the consequence of offending us, the Red Scarf Bandits. I want those natives to understand this principle. Right, kill all these natives and take revenge. Yubo's words immediately gained the approval of many of the Red Scarf Bandits. As a famous bandit in the universe, he had to be domineering and merciless. If you kill one of them, you have to kill their entire family. Not letting go of the wrong person. This was the Red Scarf thief that caused countless ordinary people in the universe to tremble in fear. Go fire. Yubo looked at his subordinates with satisfaction. He wanted to use this matter to consolidate his position in the hearts of these Red Scarf thieves. He wanted to let these Red Scarf thieves understand that although they were the second generation of thieves, they weren't pushovers. Rumble. Immediately, the soldiers on the warship moved, activating their weapon systems. Countless beams of energy gathered and aimed at Flaming Huang Island, intending to blast the island into smithereens. But at this time, the warship's emergency alarm sounded, and a soldier shouted in fear. "Oh no, leader, there's a huge energy gathering in front of us. The enemy is firing at us." "What? Who is so daring to fire at our battleship?" Yubo was so angry that he laughed. He hadn't even made a move on the group of natives, and now someone actually wanted to attack their warship. This was simply too daring. "It's those human natives. The ones attacking us are human natives?" The soldier shouted. Through the exploration system, they immediately saw a spaceship tens of kilometers away from them. The spaceship's cannon was aimed at their warship. Very soon, a thick bolt of purple lightning energy, like a lightning dragon, attacked the space warship at an unbelievable speed. "Damn it! Why didn't we detect the existence of that native spaceship? Are you guys stupid?" Yubo was furious. The enemy had gotten so close to them, but the warship hadn't detected them. This was too unbelievable. The other party's signal forcefully entered our warship's AI, temporarily interfering with our detection equipment and blinding our detection system. That's why we didn't detect them. That guy must have a high-level AI, and its performance is far above our AI. The soldier kept hammering, hoping to prevent the foreign signal from invading. But there was nothing he could do. The signal forcefully broke in, and like an emperor, it instantly took over control of their warship, turning them deaf and mute. Many of the technicians were terrified. They had never felt so powerless before. It was like a super hacker had taken over all their authority, and their every move was under the other party's surveillance. Activate the defense system and immediately activate the energy shield to stop the other party's cannons. Otherwise, we're all doomed. We're all doomed. Do you understand? Yubo roared. He was terrified. No one knew better than him that if the entire warship exploded, they would be instantly killed. There was no way they could survive. This was the cruelty of space war. There were basically no captives. Once a war broke out in the depths of the universe, the warship would explode and the crew would die. At this moment, he no longer had the savagery and calmness from before. All he had was infinite fear of death. It's useless. The other party's attack is a purple lightning cannon. It's the famous purple lightning cannon. We're doomed. The technicians shouted. They immediately recognized the cannon fired by the mysterious spaceship. The purple lightning cannon was a famous cannon even in the universe. It wasn't something ordinary energy cannons could compare to. Once the cannon was fired, the condensed lightning energy would have more penetrating power than ordinary energy cannons. Ordinary energy shields would be as weak as tofu in front of the purple lightning cannon. It was also the nemesis of many warships. This was because there were many intricate electronic components in the warship. Once hit by the purple lightning cannon, the lightning would wreak havoc everywhere. In an instant, all the important components of the warship would be destroyed, causing the warship to explode. However, because the purple lightning cannon was so powerful, the technology used to manufacture it was also very advanced. It was just that it was controlled by a certain country in the universe and was treated as a top-secret technology. Furthermore, it was priceless. Even the Red Scarf Bandits wouldn't be able to get their hands on such a powerful cannon. It was a terrifying weapon that couldn't be bought even with money. "No," you both shrieked. That was because, as they spoke, that huge bolt of lightning was like a spear of the thunder god. In the blink of an eye, the entire battleship was pierced through from the inside out. The steel that was pierced was instantly melted by the electric current. The huge electric current wreaked havoc within the warship. Boom. Chapter 1074. Oh my god, he destroyed that space battleship with one shot. That's terrifying. I originally thought that Flaming Huang Island was doomed. I didn't expect that misfortune would turn into fortune. These extraterrestrial beasts are unlucky to have encountered Xiaoping. It would be best if they were all dead. If there are any survivors, we must kill them. On Flaming Huang Island, there were countless human kings who witnessed this scene. They were all stunned. They didn't expect that the group of savage alien bandits would be blasted to death with a single shot. They couldn't even escape. They just watched as the battleship fell into the sea. It seemed that this battleship also had an anti-sinking system. It still floated on the sea and didn't sink. However, it was also covered in smoke and flames. It was obvious that it couldn't be activated again. It was estimated that most of the aliens in the battleship had died because of this attack. Corinne, are these alien bandits all dead? Inside the moon god, Xia Ping asked. No, 2 are still alive. They have signs of life. They escaped death. Corinne immediately activated the life detection system and sensed that there were still 2 living beings in the battleship. As soon as he finished speaking, a large hole appeared in the battleship with a bang. 2 figures flew out. A young man wearing black armor appeared in midair. His whole body was covered in a ball of energy. It seemed that the power of the purple lightning cannon didn't injure him. This young man was Yubo, the captain of the ship. The black armor on his body was a spirit artifact, level magic treasure called the Black Horn Armor. This spiritual treasure was made from the 2 horns of a famous beast in the universe, the Black Horn Beast. Such horns were extremely hard, harder than diamonds. A master refiner used this material and other rare ores. After 3 years and countless inscriptions and formations, he finally forged it. It was priceless. It could be said that its defense was extremely strong. It could withstand the attack of a treasure refining realm expert. However, no matter how strong its defense was, it was still a treasure. It needed a person's spiritual power as an energy source to operate. Therefore, after experiencing such a terrifying blow just now, Yubo barely used this life-saving magic treasure that his father had given him to survive the explosion just now. But even so, most of his chi was used up and he was unprecedentedly weak. The other survivor was a middle-aged man. He was Yubo's bodyguard, Zheng Cheng. Although he didn't have a spirit artifact on him, he still had a top-grade defensive artifact. On top of that, he was a treasure refinement realm cultivator. His strength was much stronger than Yubo's. Even with the suppression of the laws of heaven and earth, he was able to avoid most of the damage and survive the explosion. However, he was also in a sorry state and had suffered some injuries. Whoosh! At this moment, under Xia Ping's command, the moon god ship immediately approached the 2 of them and faced them from a distance. Native! Yubo looked at the spaceship with hatred in his eyes. He couldn't wait to tear the spaceship into pieces. If it wasn't for this bastard native messing around with the spaceship and messing up his plan, he wouldn't have suffered such heavy losses and lost his entire fleet. He didn't know how angry the higher-ups of the Red Scarf Pirates would be if they found out about this. Even if his father was an elder, he would be severely punished by the Red Scarf Pirates and wouldn't have a chance to be promoted in the future. It could be said that Xia Ping's actions had completely ruined his future. One could imagine his hatred towards Xia Ping. Even the waters of 3 rivers could not wash it clean. Kill him, Xia Ping ordered. He wasn't interested in talking nonsense with these pirates. Since they dared to invade the human world and start a massacre here, they had to pay the price with blood. The 150 million innocent human souls hadn't even been able to rest in peace. He had to use the heads of these pirates to let these souls rest in peace. Boom! Immediately, the moon god ship's weapon system was activated again. The purple lightning cannons quickly accumulated energy, and the thunder crystals were quickly consumed. Stop! Native, what are you trying to do? Sensing the dangerous aura coming from the moon god ship, Yubo jumped in fright. He immediately shouted, Do you know who is standing in front of you? I'm the son of the Red Scarf Pirate's elder. My status is very high. If you kill me, you will definitely anger my father. When the Red Scarf Pirate's army arrives, you lowly natives will all be buried with me. Do you understand? You don't know what kind of huge force you have offended. You don't know what kind of terrifying organization you are going against. He roared and continuously threatened Xia Ping. Native brother, quickly stop. Zheng Cheng saw that the situation wasn't good and quickly spoke, hoping to reduce Xia Ping's thoughts. If you kill us, there will be no turning back. We are only a part of the Red Scarf Pirate's power, not even a drop in the ocean. If you kill the leader, the Red Scarf Pirates will definitely not let you natives off. The entire continent will be scorched, and no one will be left alive. Don't be impulsive. Everything can be discussed. He hoped that Xia Ping wouldn't be too impulsive. Once he did this, there would be no turning back. Even some small human countries in the universe wouldn't dare to offend a huge bandit organization like the Red Scarf Pirates. Not to mention, they were just natives. Offending the Red Scarf Pirates was simply courting death. No need. Sooner or later, I will also slaughter the Red Scarf Pirates. You can all go on your way. Xiao Ping sneered. If Corin wasn't here, he might really be scared by these two aliens and think that the Red Scarf Pirates were a colossus that he couldn't contend with. However, no matter how powerful the Red Scarf Pirates were, they were just a group of interstellar bandits. Moreover, the Red Scarf Pirates' headquarters was very far away from the Cloud Realm. Even if they received the news and wanted to come over, who knew how many years it would take? With such a long buffer time, he could easily find a way to deal with the Red Scarf Pirates. These two alien bandits thought that by threatening him, he would spare their lives. They were simply dreaming. Boom! As soon as his voice fell, the purple thunder cannon immediately fired. A huge purple thunder descended from the sky like a homing missile. In an instant, it bombarded the heads of the two alien bandits, Zheng Cheng and Yu Bo, a native. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. Yu Bo screamed at the top of his lungs. He had already used up most of his magic power. Facing the might of the purple lightning cannon, how could he dodge it? In an instant, he was hit by the cannon. He was now regretting his actions. If he knew that the natives here were so terrifying, he wouldn't have come to this place, even if he was beaten to death. However, it was too late to say anything now. Chapter 1075. Boom! At the same time, another lightning bolt landed on Zhen Cheng's head and instantly struck his entire body. And he didn't die. Xiao Ping raised his brows. He realized that this alien bandit was even more ferocious than the Red Scarf Bandit leader. He was still alive and kicking after taking the hit. He even used this force to flee into the distance, as expected of a treasure refinement realm cultivator. Even if his strength was suppressed by the laws of heaven and earth, his vitality was still much stronger than a god realm cultivator. Swish! He instantly escaped into the distance. In a few breaths, he was already more than 10 kilometers away. Chase after him. However, no matter how fast Zheng Cheng was, he couldn't outrun the lunar god. Xiao Ping was determined to get rid of this alien bandit once and for all. How can he be so fast? Zhen Cheng's face turned pale. He had greatly underestimated the speed of this native ship. It was obvious that this ship's performance was superior to all their battleships combined. To be honest, he didn't expect that in this native continent, there was actually an existence with technology that surpassed them. If they knew this beforehand, they definitely wouldn't have made a move. Die! Xiao Ping ordered to fire. He didn't know how strong this Red Scarf Bandit was, but it didn't matter. In short, this alien bandit was only a good bandit when he was dead. Wait, stop! Sensing that the moon god was about to fire again, Zhen Cheng couldn't help but shout, hoping that Xiao Ping would stop. I'm a treasure refinement realm cultivator, a mid-level leader of the Red Scarf Bandit. Spare my life, and it will be very beneficial for you. Oh right, don't you want to know the internal situation of the Red Scarf Bandit? I'm an internal member of the Red Scarf Bandit. I know them like the back of my hand. I can help you deal with them. Deal with them. If someone in the universe saw a treasure refinement realm cultivator actually begging for mercy from a Purple Mansion realm cultivator, they would definitely not believe their eyes. But in order to survive, Zhen Cheng had already abandoned his pride as a treasure refinement realm cultivator. He was willing to beg for mercy from this terrifying native, hoping that he would be spared. However, his heart was also filled with hatred. Once this matter was over, he would lower his attitude and numb this native's mind, causing him to be careless. When the time came, he would make a move and kill it with a single strike, snatching this strange flying ship. At that time, he would be able to occupy all the benefits of this place and become the true ruler of this native continent. However, Xiao Ping didn't listen to any of Zheng Cheng's words. In his eyes, these alien bandits had already committed unforgivable crimes. So what if they had important information? The most important thing was to send them to their deaths. Dong! Without any hesitation, the purple lightning cannon fired once more. Its power seemed to reach its maximum. A terrifying pillar of purple lightning fell from the sky like a divine punishment. No, no, no. Sensing this great danger, Zhang Cheng couldn't help but scream. He was a treasure refinement realm cultivator. Even in the cosmos, he could be considered a minor expert. He could live an extremely comfortable life. Even among the famous Red Scarf bandits, he was an expert that couldn't be ignored. He had a bright future ahead of him, and he still had a lot of wealth and women to enjoy. How could he die on this native continent? How could an expert like him be willing to accept such a reality? However, reality was something that couldn't be changed by a person's will. The huge purple lightning instantly landed on his head. This time, he couldn't take it anymore. Boom! In the next second, Zhang Cheng's entire body was smashed into pieces. Lightning flashed all around him, and his body exploded in midair. He couldn't be more dead. In the cosmos, it was almost impossible to kill a treasure refinement realm cultivator. Because even if a treasure refinement realm cultivator couldn't win, he could still escape very quickly. However, in this world where the laws of heaven and earth suppressed him, he couldn't even use 10% of his strength. This caused Zhang Cheng, a treasure refinement realm cultivator, to die on this native continent. At this point, all the Red Scarf bandits had been killed by Xiaoping. Didi, at this moment, the system's voice sounded in Xiaoping's mind. Congratulations to the host, you have offended a large number of Red Scarf bandits. This time, you have gained a total of 300 million hatred points. I hope you will continue to work hard. 300 million hatred points. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. In fact, the hatred points had already been obtained when he killed Bata and the other Red Scarf bandits, but the system only appeared now to avoid affecting Xiaoping. So far, in addition to the previous ones, he had a total of 680 million hatred points, and he was getting closer and closer to the goal of 1 billion hatred points. In fact, if he hadn't spent a lot of hatred points before, he would have reached the total amount of 1 billion hatred points. However, Xiaoping didn't regret it, because those hatred points were worth it. Anyway, the gift bag of 1 billion hatred points was there. It wouldn't be a problem to get it sooner or later. It seems that I have to thank these Red Scarf bandits. Even after they died, they still contributed so much hatred points to me. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. I just don't know how many good things they left behind. He was looking forward to finding something from these Red Scarf bandits. Although the Cosmos battleship was broken by him and could no longer fly, it did not completely explode. The so-called rotten ship also has 3 nails. He believed that there must be a lot of good things inside this battleship. After a careful search, he could have a big harvest. But before that, Xiaoping first went to search for the things left by Zhang Cheng and Yubo. Although he didn't know the identity of these 2 Red Scarf bandits, they were all big shots among this group of Red Scarf bandits. It was impossible that there were no special treasures left on them. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Xiaoping immediately moved and found the corpses of the 2 people. He stripped their bodies clean and found all of their belongings. First of all, Yubo was wearing this black horn armor. He immediately sensed that this armor was very extraordinary. It seemed to be more powerful than his own Cosmos protective suit. Good thing, this is a low-grade spiritual tool. It should be called black horn armor. You brat, you have picked up a treasure. Corinne's eyes were very sinister, and he immediately recognized the origin of this magical weapon. He didn't expect Xiaoping to have such good luck. Low-grade spirit weapon. Chapter 1076. Stupid, Corinne said. There is a big difference even among the treasure tools. They are divided into low-grade treasure tools, middle-grade treasure tools, high-grade treasure tools, and peerless treasure tools. There is a big gap between each grade, and their might cannot be mentioned in the same breath. Spirit artifacts are the same as artifacts. They are divided into low-grade, middle-grade, high-grade, and peerless artifacts. The artifacts that you saw on the bodies of the Red Scarf thieves are actually standard weapons. They belong to low-grade artifacts. Although they are stronger than ordinary weapons, they're also common weapons in the universe. They are nothing. He explained to Xiaoping the difference between artifacts. Even among artifacts of the same grade, they are divided into different grades. And this low-grade spirit artifact, Black Horn Armor, is not simple. Its defense is very strong. It is much stronger than the universal defense suit you are wearing. If you have enough magic power, you can even resist the attack of an artifact refining realm. Corinne pointed at the Blackhorn armor in Xia Ping's hand. The reason why the Red Scarf thieves could survive is probably because of the defensive power of this low-grade spirit artifact. Hearing these words, Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He knew that he had picked up a big treasure this time. Wearing this Blackhorn armor, not to mention being able to resist the attack of an artifact refining realm, even being able to resist the attack of a divine realm would be amazing. It could be said that he could walk sideways in the cloud realm with just this spirit artifact. He was simply an unkillable tortoise. Thinking of this, he immediately poured his magic power into it. He wanted to completely refine this Blackhorn armor and take it for himself. Huh? Xia Ping raised his eyebrows. He quickly discovered that when his magic power and mental power tried to enter this artifact, he encountered a lot of resistance. It seemed that this spirit artifact was resisting his refinement. Do you feel that it is difficult to refine? That's right, because artifacts have a spirit. Although it is a low-grade spirit artifact, it also has a weak consciousness. It can distinguish between good and evil and know right and wrong. Corinne slightly smiled. You killed its master before, so you have enmity with it. So how could it be willing to be refined by you? Naturally, it will resist. But you don't have to worry. As long as you keep this spiritual artifact by your side, it will probably not take long for it to soften towards you. It will develop a good impression of you and accept being refined by you. Hey, my God, Xia Ping, what the hell are you doing? Didn't I tell you to slowly reform it? Why are you forcing yourself on me? It had originally wanted to teach Xia Ping how to treat this spiritual weapon well, using love and kindness to slowly influence it. However, it did not expect that Xia Ping's aura would suddenly increase, almost reaching its peak state. A terrifying amount of magic power and mental power was like a tide, crazily surging into this low-grade spiritual weapon. Instantly, it was shocked, and the tool spirit of the Blackhorn armor also felt this enormous power, and it was immediately enraged. This hateful human actually wants to use brute force to subdue me. He simply doesn't know how to write the word death. A powerful mental power gushed out from the depths of this low-grade spiritual weapon and bombarded towards Xia Ping, counterattacking, trying to destroy Xia Ping's power. However, when this tool spirit's power came into contact with Xia Ping's mental power, it immediately felt endless alarm. It seemed to have sensed that a terrifying divine bird was hiding in the depths of Xia Ping's soul. It was a sun containing the power of destruction, darkness, destruction, burning, and so on. It was as if just coming into contact with it would destroy everything in the world. Not to mention that it was only a small tool spirit. Facing such a powerful soul energy, it immediately burned, emitting a large amount of white smoke. Immediately, it did not dare to resist and quickly retreated. Otherwise, its mind would be destroyed. Boom! In the next second, Xia Ping's magic power instantly gushed into the depths of this Blackhorn armor. At the same time, his mental power also left his own mental imprint on this low-grade spiritual weapon, completely controlling it. Immediately, this Blackhorn armor, which originally weighed 1,000 kilograms, became as light as a feather after Xia Ping refined it. It was as light as a piece of white paper in his hand. This was the power of a spiritual weapon. It could change into a myriad of forms, and it could even become invisible. Even if it was worn on the body, it wouldn't feel anything. If there was any danger, it could immediately appear and deliver a fatal attack. Corinne was speechless. It completely didn't expect that with the power on Xia Ping's body, he could actually subdue the tool spirit of Xia Ping's spiritual weapon in an instant. It was simply too inconceivable. If it was a cultivator of the divine power realm or the artifact refinement realm, it could still imagine that under absolute power, even a spiritual weapon would have no choice but to submit. The problem was that Xia Ping was only at the Purple Mansion realm. His mental power was simply not enough to subdue a low-grade spiritual weapon. All right, this lower-grade spirit weapon belongs to me now. Xia Ping was very satisfied. He immediately took off the universal protective suit on his body and put on the black horn armor. This way, his defensive power was even more terrifying than before, and the black horn armor obediently submitted. It no longer dared to throw a tantrum and acknowledge Xiaoping's position as its master. "How did you do it?" Corinne couldn't help but ask. "This is like taming a wild beast. If you don't accept it, just give a beating," Xiaoping said carelessly. "Since it has wisdom, and since it also understands what is called power cannot encroach." The corner of Corinne's mouth twitched. It also knew this truth. The problem is that it was a low-grade spiritual weapons tool spirit. How could it be casually beaten? If it provoked the low-grade spiritual weapon, even a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator would be devoured to death by the backlash. In the universe, it was unknown how many times a cultivator couldn't tame a spiritual weapon and ended up being devoured by the spiritual weapon. These were all lessons learned from the mistakes of the past. But thinking about it carefully, this kid was simply a monster. To be able to do this kind of thing, perhaps it was not worth making a fuss about. He had done even more astonishing things. This was nothing. That's right. Xiaoping didn't want to continue to pay attention to this problem. He continued to check his harvest. Suddenly, he found a green gourd on Yu Bo's body. He reached out and opened the lid. Suddenly, a rich fragrance floated out, making his limbs and bones incomparably comfortable. Even the spiritual power in his body seemed to have increased a little. What kind of treasure is this? Xiaoping immediately knew that this gourd contained an absolutely incredible treasure. Just smelling the fragrance had such an amazing effect. If he took it, it would be even better. This is the 5 elemental liquid. Corinne took a look and was very excited. "Kid, you really have dog shit luck." The 5 elemental liquid is one of the more advanced spiritual medicines in the universe for enhancing spiritual power. It is made from the 5 kinds of spiritual liquids of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. After going through a special configuration, it is finally concocted into a spiritual liquid. Compared to your previous spiritual liquids, who knows how many times better? Chapter 1077. 5 elemental liquids. Hearing this, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. After he advanced to the Violet Palace realm, he knew how difficult it was to strengthen his own magic power. Without any external help, he wouldn't be able to break through a small stage by merely relying on absorbing the heaven and earth essence force for tens of years. Back then, the Swordfish King and the other Purple Mansion Realm Demon Kings were all stuck at the Purple Mansion Realm for hundreds of years and couldn't break through. It wasn't because they weren't talented enough, but because the speed at which they absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and condensed it into spiritual energy was just too slow. Even after a few hundred years, he had barely broken through to the late stage of the Purple Mansion Realm. If he wanted to quickly increase his magic power, there was a way, and that was to consume heaven and earth elixirs. The problem was that ordinary spirit medicines were useless to King Realm cultivators, but spirit medicines that were effective to King Realm cultivators were too rare in the Sky Realm. Even if it existed, it would basically be snatched away by the Divine Ability Realm cultivators. How would it be the turn of a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator? Therefore, after reaching the Violet Palace Realm, the Monarch Realm's cultivation would slow down. Sometimes, they wouldn't be able to break through even after dozens of years. What a treasure! Xiaoping was very satisfied as he looked at the 5 elemental liquid in the gourd. He felt that if he were to consume it, it would definitely greatly increase his magic power. Even in the universe, the 5 elemental liquid is a priceless treasure. It costs at least 10 million universe dollars to buy. Corinne clicked his tongue and said, "I reckon that this red scarf thief has a noble status, and his net worth is not low, so he can afford to buy 5 elemental liquids for his own cultivation. Being able to use 5 elemental liquids so extravagantly is rarely seen. In the universe, those who could use the 5 elemental liquids so extravagantly were few and far between. Unless one was from a large family, one would not dare to be so extravagant. One gourd was 10 million universe credits. Who would dare to be so extravagant? Battleship. That's right. This space battleship might contain some treasures. I have to look for them. Xiaoping also thought of the space battleship that was floating in the sea. Although he had plundered Zhengcheng and Yubo, the two Red Scarf thieves, and obtained a lot of harvest, he was still not satisfied. He wanted to plunder all the treasures here first. Whoosh! His figure flickered and immediately headed towards the Cosmos battleship. At the same time, he let Corinne turn on the exploration instrument to analyze what special treasures were left in the battleship. Half an hour later, Corinne searched the warship inside and out. No, this battleship doesn't have any 5 elemental liquids. Corinne shook his head. Perhaps there were, but they might have been destroyed in the explosion just now. So, this warship doesn't have any special treasures? Xiaoping was a bit disappointed. That's not it either. Corinne smiled faintly and said, "This cosmic battleship itself is a huge treasure, and there are a lot of mechanical parts inside. These are all treasures that cannot be found in the cloud realm. With my Corinne's technology, as well as some spare parts left behind in the base, I can create 30 liquid robots with the battle prowess of the divine power realm." What? Hearing this, Xiaoping was shocked. If he could create 30 liquid robots of the transcendent realm, he would be invincible in the heavenly realm. After all, after this catastrophe, there were less than 30 divine power realm experts in the entire heavenly realm. The appearance of this group of liquid metal robots in transcendent realm was definitely a superpower. They were invincible, and it wouldn't be a problem for them to unify the entire heavenly realm. Apart from that, I also found a large number of energy blocks. Corinne was beaming with joy. These energy blocks are the energy reserves of this battleship. They are worth 20 million universe dollars. With these energy blocks, our spaceship can cross several star fields without a problem. Even if we fly out of the universe in a short period of time, we won't lack energy. It felt that this was the biggest harvest this time. After all, if they wanted to leave the heavenly realm, the lunar god ship wouldn't be able to fly far without enough energy. The battleship exploded, but the energy blocks weren't destroyed? Xiaoping asked. Corinne shook his head. Of course not, because they are stored in the safe of the battleship. Even if there was a nuclear explosion, it wouldn't be able to damage the safe at all. So the energy blocks stored inside are undamaged, and all of them are ours. He was very proud. Are we leaving the heavenly realm? Xiaoping's eyes flickered. Although he knew that he would leave the heavenly realm sooner or later, he didn't expect that he would have to leave this place right after he advanced to the Purple Mansion realm. He was more or less reluctant. Of course, we have to leave. Corinne's tone was very serious. Think about it carefully. Now that we have killed this group of Red Scarf bandits, there is no doubt that this news can't be hidden. It won't take long for the higher-ups of the Red Scarf bandits to know. At that time, when the real Red Scarf bandits come down, can the heavenly realm still resist? If the forces of the heavenly realm can't resist, then planet Yanhuang will be in danger. Those Red Scarf bandits will never care about occupying another indigenous planet. Hearing these words, Xiaoping was also shocked. Through this incident, he finally understood how dangerous the universe was, especially this group of ferocious interstellar bandits. Even if they destroyed a planet and killed tens of billions of living beings, they would definitely not blink or shed a single tear. If they died, it might be better, at least they wouldn't suffer. The worst was to be caught by them and sold as slaves, forever unable to reincarnate. He didn't want to see his parents fall into such a fate. So you must leave the heavenly realm and find a way to fight against the Red Scarf bandits. Corinne said solemnly. But Corinne, you have lived in the universe for so long and are very knowledgeable. Don't you have a good way to deal with this group of Red Scarf bandits? Xiaoping asked. Corinne thought for a moment. There is a way. If you have enough universe coins, maybe you can buy a planetary defense system. It can cover the entire continent in every corner. With this planetary defense system, unless you are a saint, no matter how many people come, they will die. Xiaoping blinked his eyes. So powerful? This planetary defense system must be very expensive. Of course, it is expensive, at least 100 billion universe coins. Corinne glanced at him. Xiaoping's mouth twitched. Of course, if you think it is expensive, there is actually another way. That is to ask a saint to take action. As long as a saint appears, that group of red scarf bandits will naturally not dare to be arrogant and will obediently shrink back. Corinne proposed the second method. Xiaoping curled his lips. This was more unreliable than the first method. If he wanted to ask a saint to take action, 100 billion universe coins was probably not enough. Of course, there's a third method. That is to join a saint's sect and become a core disciple of this sect. Corinne's eyes flickered. If you're a core figure of this saint's sect and your hometown is in trouble, the sect will naturally stand up for you. With the protection of a big shot, the Red Scarf Bandits will not dare to act recklessly. Xiaoping touched his chin. He felt that these three methods were very difficult, but they all had their merits. However, now was not the time to think about these things. He had to settle everything in the heavenly realm first before thinking about it. Especially the high-end combat power, they were practically unharmed. An oceanic race beast king said, "But what about us? More than half of our invincible kings are dead. The remaining mermaid king and the other invincible kings are also heavily injured. They might not be able to recover in 10 years. Countless normal kings have died. The difference between us and humans is too great. I believe your Thousand Monster Mountain is the same." It looked at the monster kings of the myriad demon mountain. These monster kings also nodded with solemn expressions. It was indeed as the sea monster king had said. The earth bear king and the other captive demon kings were also destroyed in the explosion of the extraterrestrial battleship. They couldn't escape the power of the explosion and were killed directly. Not even their bones were left. It could be said that the two races, the Thousand Monster Mountain and the Sea Race, were powerful forces that could compete with the humans. But even if they joined forces, they might not be a match for the humans. It's all that damn human Xiaoping's fault. If he didn't come out of nowhere and make such a spaceship, the humans would be like us. More than half of our experts would be killed by those aliens, and we would suffer heavy losses. A monster king of the Thousand Monster Mountain gnashed his teeth in anger. They would never have thought that a tiny human would be looked down upon by these monster kings. He was just an ant that they could crush at any time. But now, he had grown into a giant that could control the Cloud Realm. With this kid's power, even when the two races were at their peak, when the invincible kings still existed, they wouldn't dare to make a move against Xiaoping. Not to mention that they only had a few defeated soldiers left now. It was even more impossible to fight against Xiaoping. The ant back then had grown into a divine dragon that they had to look up to in such a short period of time. This was unacceptable to them, but the reality was like this. They had no choice but to accept it. Okay, there's no need to say more about this. We understand. Even if we talk about the past, it's meaningless. The most important thing is the future of our two races. An old monster king said in a deep voice, pointing out the key point. Actually, we don't need to say much. Let's form an alliance. That's right. This is the only way to fight against the human race. That's right. If we don't form an alliance, we'll only be swallowed by the human race. The human race is powerful now. It's not good to fight them head-on. Otherwise, we'll be the ones who get hurt. We also have to compress our territory and give up some of the benefits to let those bastards eat their fill. Damn, we still have to compress our territory. Are you planning to seed land? I don't agree with this. Don't be naive. Do you think we can resist the human race's army now? If we don't give up some of the benefits now, we won't even have a place to stand in the future. Damn humans. They're even more despicable than the alien bandits. Why didn't the alien bandits kill them first? There's no other way. We can only wait until the day when the human race weakens. That's right. The lifespan of the monster race is always longer than that of the human race. Just watch from the sidelines. Sooner or later, we'll take back our position as the overlord of the Cloud Realm. Moreover, since the location of the Cloud Realm has been exposed, there will probably be more alien invasions in the future. Even if the sky falls, we'll be able to block it. In the future, the human race will suffer. This is the price of becoming the overlord. If you want to wear the crown, you must bear the weight. Many monster kings gritted their teeth, feeling extremely sullen. In the past, the myriad monster mountain and the oceanic clan were so powerful. They were known as the overlords of the Cloud Realm and were unparalleled for a while. However, after the human race entered this world, everything changed. They were even forced to form an alliance to protect themselves. In the history of the Oceanic Clan and the Monster Race, this was unprecedented. The two races had been mortal enemies since they were young. They didn't like each other. Forming an alliance was out of the question. However, with the current power of the human race, not forming an alliance would mean death.